Section 1. Pamela, or Virtue Rewarded. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information, or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Anne Boyer. Pamela, or Virtue Rewarded, by Samuel Richardson. Section 1. Publisher's Note. Samuel Richardson, the first in order of time of the great English novelists, was born in 1689 and died in London in 1761. He was a printer by trade, and rose to be master of the Stationers' Company. That he also became a novelist was due to his skill as a letter writer, which brought him, in his 50th year, a commission to write a volume of model familiar letters, as an aid to persons too illiterate to compose their own. The notion of connecting these letters by a story, which had interested him, suggested the plot of Pamela, and determined its epistolary form, a form which was retained in his later works. This novel, published 1740, created an epoch in the history of English fiction, and with its successors exerted a wide influence upon continental literature. It is appropriately included in a series which is designed to form a group of studies of English life by the masters of English fiction, for it marked the transition from the novel of adventure to the novel of character, from the narration of entertaining events to the study of men and of manners, of motives and of sentiments. In it the romantic interest of the story, which is of the slightest, is subordinated to the moral interest in the conduct of its characters in the various situations in which they are placed. Upon this aspect of the drama of human life, Richardson cast a most observant, if not always a penetrating glance. His works are an almost microscopically detailed picture of English domestic life in the early part of the 18th century. Pamela, or Virtue Rewarded. Letter 1. Dear Father and Mother, I have great trouble and some comfort to acquaint you with. The trouble is, that my good lady died of the illness I mentioned to you, and left us all much grieved for the loss of her; for she was a dear good lady, and kind to all us her servants. Much I feared, that as I was taken by her ladyship to wait upon her person, I should be quite destitute again, and forced to return to you and my poor mother, who have enough to do to maintain yourselves. And as my lady's goodness had put me to write and cast accounts, and made me a little expert in my needle, and otherwise qualified above my degree, it was not every family that could have found a place that your poor Pamela was fit for. But God, whose graciousness to us we have so often experienced at a pinch, put it into my good lady's heart on her death-bed, just an hour before she expired, to recommend to my young master all her servants, one by one. And when it came to my turn to be recommended, for I was sobbing and crying at her pillow, she could only say, My dear son, and so broke off a little, and then recovering, Remember my poor Pamela. And these were some of her last words. Oh, how my eyes run! Don't wonder to see the paper so blotted. Well, but God's will must be done, and so comes the comfort that I shall not be obliged to return back to be a clog upon my dear parents. For my master said, I will take care of you all, my good maidens, and for you, Pamela, and took me by the hand. Yes, he took my hand before them all. For my dear mother's sake I will be a friend to you, and you shall take care of my linen. God bless him, and pray with me, dear father and mother, for a blessing upon him, for he has given mourning and a year's wages to all my lady's servants. And I having no wages as yet, my lady having said she should do for me as I deserved, ordered the housekeeper to give me mourning with the rest, and gave me with his own hand 4 golden guineas, and some silver, which were in my old lady's pocket when she died, and said, if I was a good girl, and faithful and diligent, he would be a friend to me for his mother's sake. And so I send you these 4 guineas for your comfort, for Providence would not let me want, and so you may pay some old debt with part, and keep the other part to comfort you both. If I get more, I am sure it is my duty, and it shall be my care, to love and cherish you both, for you have loved and cherished me, when I could do nothing for myself. I send them by John, our footman, who goes your way, but he does not know what he carries, because I seal them up in one of the little pill-boxes which my lady had, wrapped close in paper, that they mayn't clink, and be sure don't open it before him. I know, dear father and mother, I must give you both grief and pleasure, and so I will only say, pray for your Pamela, who will ever be your most dutiful daughter. I have been scared out of my senses, for just now, as I was folding up this letter in my late lady's dressing-room, in comes my young master. Good sirs, how I was frightened! I went to hide the letter in my bosom, and he, seeing me tremble, said, smiling, "To whom have you been writing, Pamela?" I said, in my confusion, "Pray your honour forgive me, only to my father and mother." He said, "Well then, let me see how you'll come on in your writing." Oh, how ashamed I was! He took it, without saying more, and read it quite through, and then gave it to me again. And I said, "Pray your honour forgive me." Yet I know not for what, for he was always dutiful to his parents, and why should he be angry that I was so to mine? And indeed he was not angry, for he took me by the hand, and said, "You are a good girl, Pamela, to be kind to your aged father and mother. I am not angry with you for writing such innocent matters as these, though you ought to be wary what tales you send out of a family. Be faithful and diligent, and do as you should do, and I like you the better for this." And then he said, "Why, Pamela, you write a very pretty hand, and spell tolerably too. I see my good mother's care in your learning has not been thrown away upon you. She used to say you loved reading. You may look into any of her books to improve yourself, so you take care of them. To be sure I did nothing but curtsy and cry, and was all in confusion at his goodness. Indeed, he is the best of gentlemen, I think. But I am making another long letter, so will only add to it, that I shall ever be your dutiful daughter, Pamela Andrews. Letter II. In answer to the preceding. Dear Pamela, your letter was indeed a great trouble, and some comfort, to me and to your poor mother. We are troubled, to be sure, for your good lady's death, who took such care of you, and gave you learning, and, for 3 or 4 years past, has always been giving you clothes and linen, and everything that a gentlewoman need not be ashamed to appear in. But our chief trouble is, and indeed a very great one, for fear you should be brought to anything dishonest or wicked, by being set so above yourself. Everybody talks how you have come on, and what a genteel girl you are, and some say you are very pretty, and indeed 6 months since, when I saw you last, I should have thought so myself, if you was not our child. But what avails all this, if you are to be ruined and undone? Indeed, my dear Pamela, we begin to be in great fear for you. For what signify all the riches in the world with a bad conscience, and to be dishonest? We are, 'tis true, very poor, and find it hard enough to live, though once, as you know, it was better with us. But we would sooner live upon the water, and, if possible, the clay of the ditches I contentedly dig, than live better at the price of our child's ruin. I hope the good squire has no design, but when he has given you so much money, and speaks so kindly to you, and praises your coming on, and oh, that fatal word, that he would be kind to you, if you would do as you should do, almost kills us with fears. I have spoken to good old widow Mumford about it, who, you know, has formerly lived in good families, and she puts us in some comfort, for she says it is not unusual, when a lady dies, to give what she has about her person to her waiting maid, and to such as sit up with her in her illness. But then, why should he smile so kindly upon you? Why should he take such a poor girl as you by the hand, as your letter says he has done twice? Why should he stoop to read your letter to us, and commend your writing and spelling? And why should he give you leave to read his mother's books? Indeed, indeed, my dearest child, our hearts ache for you. And then you seem so full of joy at his goodness, so taken with his kind expressions, which truly are great favours, if he means well, that we fear, yes, my dear child, we fear, you should be too grateful, and reward him with that jewel, your virtue, which no riches, nor favour, nor anything in this life can make up to you. I too have written a long letter, but will say one thing more, and that is, that in the midst of our poverty and misfortunes we have trusted in God's goodness, and have been honest, and doubt not to be happy hereafter, if we continue to be good, though our lot is hard here. But the loss of our dear child's virtue would be a grief that we could not bear, and would bring our grey hairs to the grave at once. If then you love us, if you wish for God's blessing and your own future happiness, we both charge you to stand upon your guard, and if you find the least attempt made upon your virtue, be sure you leave everything behind you, and come away to us. For we had rather see you all covered with rags, and even follow you to the churchyard, than have it said, a child of ours preferred any worldly conveniences to her virtue. We accept kindly your dutiful present, but, till we are out of pain, cannot make use of it, for fear we should partake of the price of our poor daughter's shame. So have laid it up in a rag among the thatch, over the window for a while, lest we should be robbed. With our blessings, and our hearty prayers for you, we remain your careful but loving father and mother, John and Elizabeth Andrews. Letter 3. Dear Father, I must needs say your letter has filled me with trouble, for it has made my heart, which was overflowing with gratitude for my master's goodness, suspicious and fearful. And yet I hope I shall never find him to act unworthy of his character. For what could he get by ruining such a poor young creature as me? But that which gives us most trouble is, that you seem to mistrust the honesty of your child. No, my dear father and mother, be assured that by God's grace I will never do anything that shall bring your grey hairs with sorrow to the grave. I will die 1,000 deaths, rather than be dishonest any way. Of that be assured, and set your hearts at rest, for although I have lived above myself for some time past, yet I can be content with rags and poverty, and bread and water, and will embrace them, rather than forfeit my good name, let who will be the tempter. And of this pray, rest satisfied, and think better of your dutiful daughter till death. My master continues to be very affable to me. As yet I see no cause to fear anything. Mrs. Jervis, the housekeeper, too, is very civil to me, and I have the love of everybody. Sure they can't all have designs against me, because they are civil. I hope I shall always behave so as to be respected by every one, and that nobody would do me more hurt than I am sure I would do to them. Our John so often goes your way, that I will always get him to call, that you may hear from me, either by writing, for it brings my hand in, or by word of mouth. Letter 4. Dear Mother, for the last was to my father, in answer to his letter, and so I will now write to you, though I have nothing to say but what will make me look more like a vain hussy than anything else. However, I hope I shan't be so proud as to forget myself. Yet there is a secret pleasure one has to hear one's self praised. You must know then that my Lady Davers, who I need not tell you is my master's sister, has been a month at our house, and has taken great notice of me, and given me good advice to keep myself to myself. She told me I was a pretty wench, and that everybody gave me very good character, and loved me, and bid me take care to keep the fellows at a distance, and said, that I might do, and be more valued for it, even by themselves. But what pleased me much was, what I am going to tell you, for at table, as Mrs. Jervis says, my master and her ladyship talking of me, she told him she thought me the prettiest wench she ever saw in her life, and that I was too pretty to live in a bachelor's house, since no lady he might marry would care to continue me with her. He said, I was vastly improved, and had a good share of prudence, and sense above my years, and that it would be pity, that what was my merit should be my misfortune. No, says my good lady, Pamela shall come and live with me, I think. He said, with all his heart, he should be glad to have me so well provided for. Well, said she, I'll consult my lord about it. She asked how old I was, and Mrs. Jervis said, I was 15 last February. Oh, says she, if the wench, for so she calls all us maiden servants, takes care of herself, she'll improve yet more and more, as well in her person as mind. Now, my dear father and mother, though this may look too vain to be repeated by me, yet are you not rejoiced, as well as I, to see my master so willing to part with me? This shows that he has nothing bad in his heart. But John is just going away, and so I have only to say, that I am, and will always be, your honest, as well as dutiful daughter. Pray make use of the money. You may now do it safely. Letter V. My dear Father and Mother, John being to go your way, I am willing to write, because he is so willing to carry anything for me. He says it does him good at his heart to see you both, and to hear you talk. He says you are both so sensible, and so honest, that he always learns something from you to the purpose. It is 1,000 pities, he says, that such worthy hearts should not have better luck in the world, and wonders that you, my father, who are so well able to teach, and write so good a hand, succeeded no better in the school you attempted to set up, but was forced to go to such hard labour. But this is more pride to me, that I am come of such honest parents, than if I had been born a lady. I hear nothing yet of going to Lady Davers. I am very easy at present here, for Mrs. Jervis uses me as if I were her own daughter, and is a very good woman, and makes my master's interest her own. She is always giving me good counsel, and I love her next to you two, I think, best of anybody. She keeps so good rule and order, she is mightily respected by us all, and takes delight to hear me read to her, and all she loves to hear read is good books, which we read whenever we are alone, so that I think I am at home with you. She heard one of our men, Harry, who is no better than he should be, speak freely to me. I think he called me his pretty Pamela, and took hold of me, as if he would kissed me, for which you may be sure I was very angry. And she took him to task, and was as angry with him as could be, and told me she was very well pleased to see my prudence and modesty, and that I kept all the fellows at a distance. And indeed I am sure I am not proud, and carry it civilly to every body. But yet methinks I cannot bear to be looked upon by these men servants, for they seem as if they would look one through. And as I generally breakfast, dine, and sup with Mrs. Jervis, so good she is to me, I am very easy that I have so little to say to them. Not but they are civil to me in the main, for Mrs. Jervis's sake, who they see loves me, and they stand in awe of her, knowing her to be a gentlewoman born, though she has had misfortunes. I am going on again with a long letter, for I love writing and shall tire you. But when I began, I only intended to say, that I am quite fearless of any danger now, and indeed cannot but wonder at myself, though your caution to me was your watchful love, that I should be so foolish as to be so easy as I have been; for I am sure my master would not demean himself so as to think upon such a poor girl as I, for my harm. For such a thing would ruin his credit as well as mine, you know, who, to be sure, may expect one of the best ladies in the land. So no more at present, but that I am your ever dutiful daughter. Letter VI. Dear Father and Mother, my master has been very kind since my last, for he has given me a suit of my lady's clothes, and half a dozen of her shifts, and 6 fine handkerchiefs, and 3 of her cambric aprons, and 4 Holland ones. The clothes are fine silk, and too rich and too good for me, to be sure. I wish it was no affront to him to make money of them, and send it to you. It would do me more good. You will be full of fears, I warrant now, of some design upon me, till I tell you, that he was with Mrs. Jervis when he gave them me. And he gave her a mort of good things at the same time, and bid her wear them in remembrance of her good friend, my lady, his mother. And when he gave me these fine things, he said, These, Pamela, are for you. Have them made fit for you, when your mourning is laid by, and wear them for your good mistress's sake. Mrs. Jervis gives you a very good word, and I would have you continue to behave as prudently as you have done hitherto, and every body will be your friend. I was so surprised at his goodness that I could not tell what to say. I courtesied to him, and to Mrs. Jervis for her good word, and said, I wished I might be deserving of his favour and her kindness, and nothing should be wanting in me to the best of my knowledge. Oh, how amiable a thing is doing good! It is all I envy great folks for. I always thought my young master a fine gentleman, as every body says he is; but he gave these good things to us both with such a graciousness, as I thought he looked like an angel. Mrs. Jervis says, he asked her, if I kept the men at a distance; for, he said, I was very pretty, and to be drawn in to have any of them might be my ruin, and make me poor and miserable betimes. She never is wanting to give me a good word, and took occasion to launch out in my praise, she says. But I hope she has said no more than I shall try to deserve, though I mayn't at present. I'm sure I will always love her next to you and my dear mother. So I rest your ever dutiful daughter. Letter VII. Dear Father, since my last, my master gave me more fine things. He called me up to my late lady's closet, and pulling out her drawers, he gave me 2 suits of fine Flanders laced head clothes, 3 pair of fine silk shoes, 2 hardly the worse, and just fit for me, for my lady had a very little foot, and the other with wrought silver buckles in them, and several ribands and top knots of all colours, 4 pair of white fine cotton stockings, and 3 pair of fine silk ones, and 2 pair of rich stays. I was quite astonished, and unable to speak for a while; but yet I was inwardly ashamed to take the stockings, for Mrs. Jervis was not there. If she had, it would have been nothing. I believe I received them very awkwardly, for he smiled at my awkwardness, and said, Don't blush, Pamela. Dost think I don't know pretty maids should wear shoes and stockings? I was so confounded at these words, you might have beat me down with a feather; for you must think there was no answer to be made to this. So, like a fool, I was ready to cry, and went away courtesying and blushing, I'm sure, up to the ears. For there was no harm in what he said, yet I did not know how to take it. But I went and told all to Mrs. Jervis, who said, God put it into his heart to be good to me, and I must double my diligence. It looked to her, she said, as if he would fit me in a dress for a waiting maid's place on Lady Davers's own person. But still your kind fatherly cautions came into my head, and made all these gifts nothing near to me than what they would have been. But yet, I hope, there is no reason, for what good could it do to him to harm such a simple maiden as me? Besides, to be sure, no lady will look upon him if he should so disgrace himself. So I will make myself easy, and indeed I should never have been otherwise, if you had not put it into my head. For my good, I know it very well. But may be, without these uneasinesses to mingle with these benefits, I might be too much puffed up. So I will conclude, all that happens is for our good, and God bless you, dear father and mother, and I know you constantly pray for a blessing upon me, who am, and shall always be, your dutiful daughter. LETTER VIII. Dear Pamela, I cannot but renew my cautions on your master's kindness, and his free expression to you about the stockings. Yet there may not be, and I hope there is not, any thing in it. But when I reflect that there possibly may, and that if there should, no less depends upon it than my child's everlasting happiness in this world and the next, it is enough to make one fearful for you. Arm yourself, my dear child, for the worst, and resolve to lose your life sooner than your virtue. What though the doubts I filled you with lessen the pleasure you would have had in your master's kindness? Yet what signify the delights that arise from a few paltry fine clothes, in comparison with a good conscience? These are indeed great favours that he heaps upon you, but so much the more to be suspected. And when you say he looks so amiably, and like an angel, how afraid I am, that they should make too great an impression upon you. For though you are blessed with sense and prudence above your years, yet I tremble to think what a sad hazard a poor maiden of a little more than 15 years of age stands against the temptations of this world, and a designing young gentleman, if he should prove so, who has so much power to oblige, and has a kind of authority to command, as your master. I charge you, my dear child, on both our blessings, poor as we are, to be on your guard. There can be no harm in that. And since Mrs. Jervis is so good a gentlewoman, and so kind to you, I am the easier a great deal, and so is your mother, and we hope you will hide nothing from her, and take her counsel in every thing. So with our blessings and assured prayers for you, more than for ourselves, we remain your loving father and mother. Be sure don't let people's telling you you're pretty puff you up, for you did not make yourself, and can have no praise due to you for it. It is virtue and goodness only that make the true beauty. Remember that, Pamela. Letter IX. Dear Father and Mother, I am sorry to write you word that hopes I had of going to wait on Lady Davers are quite over. My lady would have had me, but my master, as I heard by the by, would not consent to it. He said her nephew might be taken with me, and I might draw him in, or be drawn in by him, and he thought, as his mother loved me, and committed me to his care, he ought to continue me with him, and Mrs. Jervis would be a mother to me. Mrs. Jervis tells me the lady shook her head and said, Ah, brother! and that was all. And as you have made me fearful by your cautions, my heart at times misgives me. But I say nothing yet of your caution, or my own uneasiness, to Mrs. Jervis; not that I mistrust her, but for fear she should think me presumptuous, and vain, and conceited, to have any fears about the matter, from the great distance between such a gentleman and so poor a girl. But yet Mrs. Jervis seems to build something upon Lady Davers shaking her head, and saying, Ah, brother! and no more. God, I hope, will give me his grace, and so I will not, if I can help it, make myself too uneasy, for I hope there is no occasion; but every little matter that happens I will acquaint you with, that you may continue to me your good advice, and pray for your sad-hearted Pamela. Letter X. Dear Mother, you and my good father may wonder you have not had a letter from me in so many weeks, but a sad scene has been the occasion of it. For to be sure, now it is too plain that all your cautions were well grounded. O my dear mother, I am miserable, truly miserable; but yet, don't be affrighted, I am honest. God, of his goodness, keep me so. O this angel of a master, this fine gentleman, this gracious benefactor to your poor Pamela, who was to take care of me at the prayer of his good dying mother, who was so apprehensive for me, lest I should be drawn in by Lord Davers' nephew, that he would not let me go to Lady Davers. This very gentleman, yes, I must call him gentleman, though he has fallen from the merit of that title, has degraded himself to offer freedoms to his poor servant. He has now showed himself in his true colours, and to me nothing appears so black and so frightful. I have not been idle, but had writ from time to time how he, by sly mean degrees, exposed his wicked views, But somebody stole my letter, and I know not what has become of it. It was a very long one. I fear he that was mean enough to do bad things, in one respect, did not stick at this. But be as it will, all the use he can make of it will be, that he may be ashamed of his part, I not of mine. For he will see I was resolved to be virtuous, and gloried in the honesty of my poor parents. I will tell you all the next opportunity, for I am watched very narrowly, and he says to Mrs. Jervis, this girl is always scribbling. I think she may be better employed. And yet I work all hours with my needle upon his linen, and the fine linen of the family, and am, besides, about flowering him a waistcoat. But, oh, my heart's broke almost, for what am I likely to have for my reward, but shame and disgrace, or else ill words and hard treatment? I'll tell you all soon, and hope I shall find my long letter. Your most afflicted daughter. May be, I he and him too much, but it is his own fault if I do, for why did he lose all his dignity with me? Letter 11. Dear Mother, well, I can't find my letter, and so I'll try to recollect it all, and be as brief as I can. All went well enough in the main for some time after my letter but one. At last I saw some reason to suspect, for he would look upon me, whenever he saw me, in such a manner as showed not well. And one day he came to me as I was in the summer house in the little garden, at work with my needle, and Mrs. Jervis was just gone from me, and I would have gone out, but he said, No, don't go, Pamela. I have something to say to you, and you will always fly me when I come near you, as if you were afraid of me. I was much out of countenance, you may well think, but at last said, It does not become your good servant to stay in your presence, sir, without your business required it, and I hope I shall always know my place. Well, says he, my business does require it some time, and I have a mind you should stay to hear what I have to say to you. I stood still confounded, and began to tremble, and the more when he took me by the hand, for now no soul was near us. My sister Davers, said he, and seemed, I thought, to be as much at a loss for words as I, would have had you live with her, but she would not do for you what I am resolved to do, if you continue faithful and obliging. What sayest thou, my girl? Said he, with some eagerness. Hast thou not rather stay with me than go to my sister Davers? He looked so as filled me with affrightment, I don't know why, wildly, I thought. I said, when I could speak, Your honour will forgive me, but as you have no lady for me to wait upon, and my good lady has been now dead this 12 months, I had rather wait upon Lady Davers, because I was proceeding, and he said, a little hastily, Because you are a little fool, and know not what's good for yourself. I tell you, I will make a gentlewoman of you, if you be obliging, and don't stand in your own light. And so saying, he put his arm around me, and kissed me. Now you will say all his wickedness appeared plainly. I struggled and trembled, and was so benumbed with terror, and I sunk down, not in a fit, and yet not myself, and I found myself in his arms, quite void of strength, and he kissed me 2 or 3 times with frightful eagerness. At last I burst from him and was getting out of the summer house, but he held me back, and shut the door. I would have given my life for a farthing, and he said, I'll do you no harm, Pamela. Don't be afraid of me. I said, I won't stay. You won't, hussy, said he. Do you know whom you speak to? I lost all fear, and all respect, and said, Yes, I do, sir, too well. Well, may I forget I am your servant, when you forget what belongs to a master? I sobbed and cried most sadly. What a foolish hussy you are, said he. Have I done you any harm? Yes, sir, said I, the greatest harm in the world. You have taught me to forget myself and what belongs to me, and have lessened the distance that fortune has made between us, by demeaning yourself to be so free to a poor servant. Yet, sir, I will be bold to say, I am honest, though poor, and if you was a prince, I would not be otherwise. He was angry, and said, Who would have you otherwise, you foolish slut? Cease your blubbering. I own I have demeaned myself, but it was only to try you. If you can keep this matter secret, you'll give me the better opinion of your prudence. And here's something, said he, putting some gold in my hand, to make you amends for the fright I put you in. Go, take a walk in the garden, and don't go in until your blubbering is over, and I charge you say nothing of what is past, and all shall be well, and I'll forgive you. I won't take the money, indeed, sir, said I. Poor as I am, I won't take it. For, to say truth, I thought it looked like taking earnest, and so I put it upon the bench, and as he seemed vexed and confused at what he had done, I took the opportunity to open the door, and went out of the summer house. He called to me and said, Be secret, I charge you, Pamela, and don't go in yet, as I told you. Oh, how poor and mean must those actions be, and how little must they make the best of gentlemen look, when they offer such things as are unworthy in themselves, and put it into the power of their inferiors to be greater than they. I took a turn or two in the garden, but in sight of the house, for fear of the worst, and breathed upon my hand to dry my eyes, because I would not be too disobedient. My next shall tell you more. Pray for me, my dear father and mother, and don't be angry I have not yet run away from this house, so late my comfort and delight, but now my terror and anguish. I am forced to break off hastily. Your dutiful and honest daughter. End of section 1. Please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Anne Boyer. Pamela, or Virtue Rewarded, by Samuel Richardson. Section 2. Letter 12. Dear Mother, well, I will now proceed with my sad story. And so, after I had dried my eyes, I went in, and began to ruminate with myself what I had best to do. Sometimes I thought I would leave the house and go to the next town, and wait an opportunity to get to you. But then I was at a loss to resolve whether to take away the things he had given me or no, and how to take them away. Sometimes I thought to leave them behind me, and go only with the clothes on my back, but then I had 2 miles and a half, and a byway to the town, and being pretty well dressed I might come to some harm, almost as bad as what I would run away from. And then may be, thought I, it will be reported I have stolen something, and so was forced to run away, and to carry a bad name back with me to my dear parents would be a sad thing indeed. Oh, how I wished for my grey russet again, and my poor honest dress, with which you fitted me out, and hard enough too it was for you to do it, for going to this place when I was not 12 years old in my good lady's days. Sometimes I thought of telling Mrs. Jervis, and taking her advice, but only feared his command to be secret. For, thought I, he may be ashamed of his actions, and never attempt the like again. And as poor Mrs. Jervis depended upon him through misfortunes that had attended her, I thought it would be a sad thing to bring his displeasure upon her for my sake. In this quandary, now considering, now crying, and not knowing what to do, I passed the time in my chamber till evening, when, desiring to be excused going to supper, Mrs. Jervis came up to me and said, Why must I sup without you, Pamela? Come, I see you are troubled at something. Tell me what is the matter. I begged I might be permitted to be with her on nights, for I was afraid of spirits, and they would not hurt such a good person as she. That was a silly excuse, she said, for why was you not afraid of spirits before? Indeed, I did not think of that. But you shall be my bedfellow with all my heart, added she, let your reason be what it will, only come down to supper. I begged to be excused, for, said I have been crying so, that it will be taken notice of by my fellow servants, and I will hide nothing from you, Mrs. Jervis, when we are alone. She was so good to indulge me, but made haste to come to bed, and told the servants that I should be with her, because she could not rest well, and would get me to read her to sleep, for she knew I loved reading, she said. When we were alone, I told her all that had passed, for I thought, though he had bid me not, yet if he should come to know I had told, it would be no worse; for to keep a secret of such a nature would be, as I apprehended, to deprive myself of the good advice which I never wanted more, and might encourage him to think I did not resent it as I ought, and would keep worse secrets, and so make him do worse by me. Was I right, my dear mother? Mrs. Jervis could not help mingling tears with my tears, for I cried all the time I was telling her the story, and begged her to advise me what to do. And I showed her my dear father's 2 letters, and she praised the honesty and editing of them, and said pleasing things to me of you both. But she begged I would not think of leaving my service; for, said she, in all likelihood, you behave so virtuously, that he will be ashamed of what he has done, and never offer the like to you again. Though, my dear Pamela, said she, I fear more for your prettiness than for anything else, because the best man in the land might love you. So she was pleased to say. She wished it was in her power to live independent, then she would take a little private house, and I should live with her like her daughter. And so, as you ordered me to take her advice, I resolved to tarry to see how things went, except he was to turn me away, although in your first letter you ordered me to come away the moment I had any reason to be apprehensive. So, dear father and mother, it is not disobedience, I hope, that I stay, for I could not expect a blessing, or the good fruits of your prayers for me, if I was disobedient. All the next day I was very sad, and began my long letter. He saw me writing, and said, as I mentioned, to Mrs. Jervis, that girl is always scribbling. Methinks she might find something else to do, or to that purpose. And when I had finished my letter, I put it under the toilet in my late lady's dressing-room, whither nobody comes but myself and Mrs. Jervis, besides my master. But when I came up again to seal it, to my great concern it was gone, and Mrs. Jervis knew nothing of it, and nobody knew of my master's having been near the place in the time. So I have been sadly troubled about it. But Mrs. Jervis, as well as I, thinks he has it, somehow or other, and he appears cross and angry, and seems to shun me as much as he said I did him. It had better be so than worse. But he has ordered Mrs. Jervis to bid me not pass so much time in writing, which is a poor matter for such a gentleman as he to take notice of, as I am not idle in other ways, if he did not resent what he thought I wrote upon. And this has no very good look. But I am a good deal easier since I lie with Mrs. Jervis, though, after all, the fears I live in on one side, and his frowning and displeasure of what I do on the other, make me more miserable than enough. Oh, that I had never left my little bed in the loft, to be thus exposed to temptations on one hand, or disgusts on the other! How happy was I a while ago! How contrary now! Pity and pray for your afflicted Pamela. Letter 13. My dearest child, our hearts bleed for your distress and the temptations you're exposed to. You have our hourly prayers, and we would have you flee this evil great house and man, if you find he renews his attempts. You ought to have done it at first, had you not had Mrs. Jervis to advise with. We can find no fault in your conduct hitherto, but it makes our hearts ache for fear of the worst. Oh, my child, temptations are sore things, but yet, without them, we know not ourselves, nor what we are able to do. Your danger is very great, for you have riches, youth, and a fine gentleman, as the world reckons him, to withstand. But how great will be your honour to withstand them! And when we consider your past conduct, and your virtuous education, and that you have been bred to be more ashamed of dishonesty than poverty, we trust in God, that he will enable you to overcome. Yet, as we can't see but your life must be a burden to you, through the great apprehensions always upon you, and that it may be presumptuous to trust too much to our own strength, and that you are but very young, and the devil may put it into his heart to use some stratagem, of which great men are full, to decoy you, I think you had better come home to share our poverty with safety, than live with so much discontent and plenty. That itself may be dangerous. God direct you for the best, while you have Mrs. Jervis for an adviser and bedfellow, and oh, my dear child, that was prudently done of you. We are easier than we should be, and so committing you to the divine protection, remain your loving but careful father and mother. Letter 14. Dear Father and Mother, Mrs. Jervis and I have lived very comfortably together for this fortnight past, for my master was all that time at his Lincolnshire estate, and is at his sister's, the Lady Davers. But he came home yesterday. He had some talk with Mrs. Jervis soon after, and mostly about me. He said to her, it seems, Well, Mrs. Jervis, I know Pamela has your good word, but do you think her of any use in the family? She told me she was surprised at the question, but said, that I was one of the most virtuous and industrious young creatures that ever she knew. Why, that word virtuous, said he, I pray you. Was there any reason to suppose her otherwise? Or has anybody taken it into his head to try her? I wonder, sir, says she, you ask such a question. Who dare offer anything to her in such an orderly and well-governed house as yours, and under a master of so good a character for virtue and honour? Your servant, Mrs. Jervis, says he, for your good opinion. But pray, if anybody did, do you think Pamela would let you know it? Why, sir, said she is a poor innocent young creature, and I believe has so much confidence in me, that she would take my advice as soon as she would her mother's. Innocent, again, and virtuous, I warrant. Well, Mrs. Jervis, you are abound with your epithets, but I take her to be an artful young baggage, and had I a young handsome butler or steward, she'd soon make her market of one of them, and she thought it worth while to snap at him for a husband. Lack-a-day, sir, said she, it is early days with Pamela, and she does not yet think of a husband, I dare say. And your steward and butler are both men in years, and think nothing of the matter. No, said he, if they were younger, they'd have more wit than to think of such a girl. I'll tell you of my mind of her, Mrs. Jervis. I don't think this same favourite of yours is so very artless a girl as you imagine. I'm not to dispute with your honour, said Mrs. Jervis, but I dare say if the men will let her alone, she'll never trouble herself about them. Why, Mrs. Jervis, said he, are there any men that will not let her alone that you know of? No, indeed, sir, said she. She keeps herself so much to herself, and yet behaves so prudently, that they all esteem her, and shew her as great a respect as if she were a gentlewoman born. Ay, says he, that's her art, that I was speaking of. But let me tell you, the girl has vanity and conceit, and pride too, or I am mistaken. And perhaps I could give you an instance of it. Sir, said she, you can see farther than such a poor silly woman as I am. But I never saw anything but innocence in her, and virtue too, I warrant ye, said he. But suppose I should give you an instance where she talked a little too freely of the kindnesses that have been shown her from a certain quarter, and has had the vanity to impute a few kind words, uttered in mere compassion to her youth and circumstances, into a design upon her, and even dared to make free with names that she ought never to mention but with reverence and gratitude, what would you say to that? Say, sir, says she, I cannot tell what to say, but I hope Pamela incapable of such ingratitude. Well, no more of this silly girl, says he. You may only advise her, as you are her friend, not to give herself too much license upon the favours she meets with. And if she stays here, that she will not write the affairs of my family purely for an exercise to her pen, and her invention. I tell you she's a subtle, artful gipsy, and time will show it you. Was ever the like heard, my dear father and mother? It is plain he did not expect to meet with such a repulse and mistrust that I have told Mrs. Jervis, and it has my long letter too that I intended for you, and so is vexed to the heart. But I can't help it. I'd better be thought artful and subtle than be so, in his sense, and as light as he makes of the words virtue and innocence in me, he would have made a less angry construction had I less deserved that he should do so. For then, may be, my crime should have been my virtue with him, a naughty gentleman as he is. I will soon write again, but must now end with saying that I am, and shall always be, your honest daughter. Letter 15. Dear Mother, I broke off abruptly my last letter, for I feared he was coming, and so it happened. I put the letter in my bosom, and took up my work, which lay by me. but I had so little of the artful, as he called it, that I looked as confused as if I had been doing some great harm. Sit still, Pamela, said he. Mind your work, for all me. You don't tell me I am welcome home after my journey to Lincolnshire. It would be hard, sir, said I, if you was not always welcome to your honour's own house. I would have gone, but he said, don't run away, I tell you. I have a word or two to say to you. Good sirs, how my heart went pit-a-pat. When I was a little kind to you, said he, in the summer-house, and you carried yourself so foolishly upon it, as if I had intended to do you great harm, did I not tell you you should take no notice of what passed to any creature? And you two have made a common talk of the matter, not considering either my reputation or your own. I made a common talk of it, sir, said I. I have nobody to talk to, hardly. He interrupted me and said, Hardly, you little equivocator! What do you mean by hardly? Let me ask you, have you not told Mrs. Jervis, for one? Pray, your honour, said I, all in agitation, let me go down, for it is not for me to hold an argument with your honour. Equivocator again, said he, and took my hand. What do you talk of an argument? Is it holding an argument with me to answer a plain question? Answer me what I asked. O good sir, said I, let me beg you will not urge me farther, for fear I forget myself again, and be saucy. Answer me then, I bid you, says he, have you not told Mrs. Jervis? It will be saucy in you if you don't answer me directly to what I ask. Sir, said I, and fain would have pulled my hand away, perhaps I should be for answering you by another question, and that would not become me. What is it you would say? Replies he. Speak out. Then, sir, said I, why should your honour be so angry that I should tell Mrs. Jervis, or anybody else, what passed, if you intended no harm? Well said, pretty innocent, and artless, as Mrs. Jervis calls you, said he. And is it thus you taunt and retort upon me, insolent as you are? But still I will be answered directly to my question. Why then, sir, said I will not tell a lie for the world. I did tell Mrs. Jervis, for my heart was almost broken, but I opened not my mouth to any other. Very well, bold-face, said he, and equivocator again. You did not open your mouth to any other, but did you not write to some other? Why now, and please your honour, said I, for I was quite courageous just then. You could not have asked me this question, if you had not taken from me my letter to my father and mother, in which I own I had broken my mind freely to them. I asked their advice, and poured out forth my griefs. And so I am to be exposed, am I, said he, in my own house and out of my house, to the whole world, by such a sauce-box as you? No, good sir, said I, and I hope your honour won't be angry with me. It is not I that expose you, if I say nothing but the truth. So taunting again, assurance as you are, said he, I will not be thus talked to. Pray, sir, said I, of whom can a poor girl take advice, if it must not be of her father and mother, and such a good woman as Mrs. Jervis, who, for her sex sake, should give it me when asked? Insolent, said he, and he stamped with his foot. Am I to be questioned thus by such as one as you? I fell down on my knees, and said, For heaven's sake, your honour, pity a poor creature that knows nothing of her duty, but how to cherish her virtue and good name. I have nothing else to trust to, and though poor and friendless here, yet I have always been taught to value honesty above my life. Here's ado with your honesty, said he, foolish girl. Is it not one part of honesty to be dutiful and grateful to your master, do you think? Indeed, sir, said I, it is impossible I should be ungrateful to your honour, or disobedient, or deserve the names of bold-face or insolent, which you call me. But when your commands are contrary to that first duty which shall ever be the principle of my life. He seemed to be moved, and rose up, and walked into the great chamber 2 or 3 turns, leaving me on my knees. And I threw my apron over my face, and laid my head on a chair, and cried as if my heart would break, having no power to stir. At last he came in again, but alas, with mischief in his heart, and raising me up, he said, Rise, Pamela, rise. You are your own enemy. Your perverse folly will be your ruin. I tell you this, that I am very much displeased with the freedoms you have taken with my name to my housekeeper, as also to your father and mother. and you may as well have real cause to take these freedoms with me, as to make my name suffer for imaginary ones. And saying so, he offered to take me on his knee with some force. Oh, how I was terrified! I said, like as I had read in a book a night or two before, Angels and saints, and all the host of heaven, defend me, and may I never survive one moment to that fatal one in which I forfeit my innocence. Pretty fool, said he, how will you forfeit your innocence, if you are obliged to yield to a force you cannot withstand? Be easy, said he, for let the worst happen that can. You will have the merit, and I the blame, and it will be a good subject for letters to your father and mother, and a tale into the bargain for Mrs. Jervis. He by force kissed my neck and lips, and said, Whoever blameth Lucretia? All the shame lay on the ravisher only, and I am content to take all the blame upon me, as I have already borne too great a share for what I have not deserved. May I, said I, Lucretia-like, justify myself with my death, if I am used barbarously. O my good girl, said he, tauntingly, you are well read, I see, and we shall make out between us, before we have done, a pretty story in romance, I warrant ye. He then put his hand in my bosom, and indignation gave me double strength, and I got loose from him by a sudden spring, and ran out of the room. And the next chamber being open, I made shift to get into it, and threw to the door, and it locked after me. But he followed me so close, he got a hold of my gown, and tore a piece off, which had hung without the door, for the key was on the inside. I just remember I got into the room, for I knew nothing further of the matter till afterwards, for I fell into a fit with my terror, and there I lay, till he, as I suppose, looking through the keyhole, spied me upon the floor, stretched out at length on my face, and then he called Mrs. Jervis to me, who, by his assistance, bursting open the door, he went away, seeing me coming to myself, and bid her say nothing of the matter, if she was wise. Poor Mrs. Jervis thought it was worse, and cried over me as if she was my mother, and I was 2 hours before I came to myself, and just as I got a little up on my feet, he coming in, I fainted away again with the terror, and so he withdrew. But he stayed in the next room, to let nobody come near us, that his foul proceedings might not be known. Mrs. Jervis gave me her smelling bottle, and had cut my laces, and set me in a great chair, and he called her to him. How is the girl? said he. I never saw such a fool in my life. I did nothing at all to her. Mrs. Jervis could not speak for crying. So he said, She has told you, it seems, that I was kind to her in the summer house, though I'll assure you I was quite innocent then as well as now. And I desire you to keep this matter to yourself, and let me not be named in it. O sir, said she, for your honour's sake, and for Christ's sake. But he would not hear her, and said, For your own sake, I tell you, Mrs. Jervis, say not a word more. I have done her no harm, and I won't have her stay in my house, prating, perverse fool as she is. But since she is so apt to fall into fits, or at least pretend to do so, prepare her to see me to-morrow after dinner in my mother's closet, and do you be with her, and you shall hear what passes between us. And so he went out in a pet, and ordered his chariot and four to be got ready, and went a-visiting somewhere. Mrs. Jervis then came to me, and I told her all that had happened, and said I was resolved not to stay in the house. And she replying, He seemed to threaten as much. I said, I am glad of that, then I shall be easy. So she told me all that he had said to her, as above. Mrs. Jervis is very loath that I should go, and yet, poor woman, she begins to be afraid for herself, but would not have me ruined for the world. She says to be sure he means no good, but may be, now he sees me so resolute, he will give over all attempts, and that I shall better know what to do after to-morrow, when I am to appear before a very bad judge, I doubt. Oh, how I dread this to-morrow's appearance! But be as assured, my dear parents, of the honesty of your poor child, as I am of your prayers, for your dutiful daughter. Oh, this frightful to-morrow, how I dread it! Letter 16. My dear parents, I know you long to hear from me soon, and I send you as soon as I could. Well, you may believe how uneasily I passed the time until his appointed hour came. Every minute, as it grew nearer, my terrors increased, and sometimes I had great courage, and sometimes not at all, and I thought I should faint when it came to the time my master had dined. I could neither eat nor drink, for my part, and do what I could, my eyes were swelled with crying. At last he went up to the closet, which was my good lady's dressing-room, a room I once loved, but then as much hated. Don't your heart ache for me? I am sure mine fluttered about like a new-caught bird in a cage. O Pamela, said I to myself, why art thou so foolish and fearful? Thou hast done no harm. What if thou fearest an unjust judge, when thou art innocent, wouldst thou do before a just one, if thou wert guilty? Have courage, Pamela, thou knowest the worst, and how easy a choice poverty and honesty is, rather than plenty and wickedness. So I cheered myself, but yet my poor heart sunk, and my spirits were quite broken. Everything that stirred I thought was to call me to my account. I dreaded it, and yet I wished it to come. Well, at last he rung the bell. Oh, thought I, that it was my passing bell. Mrs. Jervis went up, with a full heart enough, poor good woman. He said, Where's Pamela? Let her come up, and do you come with her. She came to me. I was ready to go with my feet, but my heart was with my dear father and mother, wishing to share your poverty and happiness. I went up, however. Oh, how can wicked men seem so steady and untouched with such black hearts, while poor innocents stand like malefactors before them? He looked so stern that my heart failed me, and I wished myself anywhere but there, though I had before been summoning up all my courage. Good heaven, said I to myself, give me courage to stand before this naughty master. Oh, soften him, or harden me. Come in, fool, said he angrily, as soon as he saw me, and snatched my hand with a pull. You may well be ashamed to see me after your noise and nonsense, and exposing me as you have done. I am ashamed to see you, thought I, very pretty indeed, but I said nothing. Mrs. Jervis, said he, here you are both together. Do you sit down, but let her stand, if she will. Ay, thought I, if I can, for my knees beat one against the other. Did you not think, when you saw the girl in the way you found her in, that I had given her the greatest occasion for complaint that could possibly be given to a woman, and that I had actually ruined her, as she calls it? Tell me, could you think anything less? Indeed, said she, I feared so as my first. Has she told you what I did to her, and all I did to her to occasion all this folly, by which my reputation might have suffered in your opinion, and in that of all the family? Inform me, what has she told you? She was a little too much frightened, as she owned afterwards, at his sternness, and said, Indeed, she told me you only pulled her on your knee and kissed her. Then I plucked up my spirits a little. Only, Mrs. Jervis, said I, and was that not enough to show me what I had to fear? When a master of his honour's degree demeans himself to be so free as to such a poor servant as me, what is the next to be expected? But your honour went farther, as you did, and threatened me to do what you would do, and talked of Lucretia and her hard fate. Your honour knows you went too far for a master to a servant, or even to his equal, and I cannot bear it. So I fell a-crying most sadly. Mrs. Jervis began to excuse me, and to beg he would pity a poor maiden, that had such a value for her reputation. He said, I speak it to her face. I think her very pretty, and I thought her humble, and one that would not grow upon my favours, or the notice I took of her. But I abhor the thoughts of forcing her to anything. I know myself better, said he, and what belongs to me. And to be sure I have enough demeaned myself to take notice of such a one as she. But I was bewitched by her, I think, to be freer than became me, though I had no intention to carry the jest further. What poor stuff was all this, my dear mother, from a man of his sense! But see how a bad cause and bad actions confound the greatest wits. It gave me a little more courage then; for innocence, I find, in a low fortune, and weak mind, has many advantages over guilt, with all its riches and wisdom. So I said, Your honour may call this jest or sport, or what you please; but indeed, sir, it is not a jest that becomes the distance between a master and a servant. Do you hear, Mrs. Jervis, said he, do you hear the pertness of the creature? I had a good deal of this sort before in the summer house, and yesterday too, which made me rougher with her than perhaps I had otherwise been. Says Mrs. Jervis, Pamela, don't be so pert to his honour. You should know your distance. You see his honour was only in jest. Oh, dear Mrs. Jervis, said I, don't you blame me too. It is very difficult to keep one's distance to the greatest of men, when they won't keep it themselves to their meanest servants. See again, said he, would you believe this of the young baggage, if you had not heard it? Good your honour, said the well-meaning gentlewoman, pity and forgive the poor girl. She is but a girl, and her virtue is very dear to her, and I will pawn my life for her she will never be pert to your honour, if you'll be so good as to molest her no more, nor frighten her again. You saw, sir, by her fit, she was in terror. She could not help it, and though your honour intended her no harm, yet the apprehension was almost death to her, and I had much ado to bring her to herself again. Oh, the little hypocrite, said he! She has all the arts of her sex. They were born with her. And I told you a while ago you did not know her. But this was not the reason principally of my calling you before me together. I find I am likely to suffer my reputation by the perverseness and folly of this girl. She has told you all, and perhaps more than all. Nay, I make no doubt of it, and she has written letters, for I find she is a mighty letter writer, to her father and mother, and others, as far as I know, in which, representing herself as an angel of light, she makes her kind master and benefactor a devil incarnate. Oh, how people will sometimes, thought I, call themselves by the right names! And all this, added he, I won't hear, and so I am resolved she shall return to the distresses and poverty she was taken from, and let her be careful how she uses my name with freedom when she's gone from me. I was brightened up at once by these welcome words, and I threw myself upon my knees at his feet, with a most sincere glad heart. And I said, May your honour be for ever blessed for your resolution. Now I shall be happy. And permit me, on my bended knees, to thank you for all the benefits and favours you have heaped upon me, for the opportunities I have had of improvement and learning, through my good lady's means and yours. I will now forget all your honour has offered me, and I promise you that I will never let your name pass my lips but with reverence and gratitude. And so God Almighty bless your honour for ever and ever. Amen. Then rising from my knees, I went away with another guise sort of heart that I came into his presence with. And so I fell to writing this letter, and thus all is happily over. And now, dearest father and mother, expect to see soon your poor daughter, with a humble and dutiful mind, returned to you. And don't fear but I know how to be as happy with you as ever, for I will be in the loft, as I used to do, and pray let my little bed be got ready, and I have a small matter of money, which will buy me a suit of clothes, fitter for my condition than what I have. And I will get Mrs. Mumford to help me to some needlework, and fear not that I shall be a burden to you, if my health continues. I know I shall be blessed, if not for my own sake, for both your sakes, who have, in all your trials and misfortunes, preserved so much integrity as makes everybody speak well of you both. But I hope he will let good Mrs. Jervis give me a character, for fear it should be thought that I was turned away for dishonesty. And so, my dear parents, may you be blessed for me, and I for you, and I will always pray for my master and Mrs. Jervis. So good night, for it is late, and I shall soon be called to bed. I hope Mrs. Jervis is not angry with me. She has not called me to supper, though I could eat nothing if she had. But I make no doubt I shall sleep purely to-night, and dream that I am with you, in my dear, dear happy loft, once more. So good night again, my dear father and mother, says your poor honest daughter. Perhaps I mayn't come this week, because I must get up the linen, and leave in order everything belonging to my place. So send me a line, if you can, to let me know if I shall be welcome, by John, who will call for it as he returns. But say nothing of my coming away to him as yet, for it will be as said I blab everything. Letter 17. My dearest daughter, welcome, welcome, 10 times welcome shall you be to us, for you come to us innocent, and happy, and honest, and you are the staff of our old age, and our comfort. And though we cannot do for you as we would, yet fear not, we shall live happily together. And what with my diligent labour, and your poor mother's spinning, and your needle-work, I make no doubt we can do better and better. Only your poor mother's eyes began to fail her, though I bless God I am as strong and able, and willing to labour as ever. And, oh, my dear child, your virtue has made me, I think, stronger and better than I was before. What blessed things are trials and temptations, when we have the strength to resist and subdue them! But I am uneasy about those same 4 guineas. I think you should give them back again to your master. And yet I have broken them. Alas, I have only 3 left. But I will borrow the 4th, if I can, part upon my wages, and part of Mrs. Mumford, and send the whole sum back to you, that you may return it against John comes next, if he comes again before you. I want to know how you come. I fancy honest John will be glad to bear you company part of the way, if your master is not so cross as to forbid him. And if I know time enough, your mother will go 5 miles, and I will go 10 on the way, or till I meet you, as far as one holiday will go, for that I could get leave to make on such an occasion. And we shall receive you with more pleasure than we had at your birth, when all the worst was over, or than we ever had in our lives. And so God bless you until the happy time comes, say both your mother and I, which is all at present, from your loving parents. Letter 18. Dear Father and Mother, I thank you 1,000 times for your goodness to me, expressed in your last letter. And I long to get my business done, and come to my new old lot again, as I may call it. I have been quite another thing since my master has turned me off. And as I shall come to you an honest daughter, what pleasure it is to what I should have had, if I could not have seen you but as a guilty one. Well, my writing time will soon be over, and so I will make use of it now, and tell you all that has happened since my last letter. I wondered Mrs. Jervis did not call me up to sup with her, and feared she was angry, and when I had finished my letter, I longed for her coming to bed. At last she came up, but seemed shy and reserved, and I said, My dear Mrs. Jervis, I am glad to see you. You are not angry with me, I hope. She said she was sorry things had gone so far, and that she had a great deal of talk with my master after I was gone. That he seemed moved at what I said, and at my falling on my knees to him, and my prayer for him at my going away. He said I was a strange girl, he knew not what to make of me. And is she gone? Said he. I intended to say something else to her, but she behaved so oddly that I had not power to stop her. She asked, if she should call me again. He said yes, and then, no, let her go. It is best for her and me too, and she shall go, now that I have given her warning. Where she had it I can't tell, but I never met with a fellow of her in any life and any age. She said he had ordered her not to tell me all, but she believed he would never offer anything to me again, and I might stay, she fancied, if I would beg it as a favour, though she was not sure neither. I stay, dear Mrs. Jervis, said I. Why, it is the best news that could have come to me that he will let me go. I do nothing but long to go back again to my poverty and distress, as he threatened I should. For though I am sure of the poverty, I shall not have half the distress I have had for some months past, I assure you. Mrs. Jervis, dear good soul, wept over me, and said, Well, well, Pamela, I did not think I shown so little love to you, that you should express so much joy upon leaving me. I am sure I never had a child half so dear to me as you are. I went to hear her so good to me, as indeed she has always been, and said, What would you have me do, my dear Mrs. Jervis? I love you next to my own father and mother, and to leave you is the chief concern I have at quitting this place. But I am sure it is certain ruin if I stay. After such offers, and such threatenings, and his comparing himself to a wicked ravisher in the very time of his last offer, and turning it into a jest, that we should make a pretty story in a romance, how can I stay and be safe? Has he not demeaned himself twice? And it behoves me to be aware of the third time, for fear he should lay his snares surer. For perhaps he did not expect a poor servant would resist her master so much. And must it not be looked upon as a sort of warrant for such actions, if I stay after this? For, I think, when one of our sex finds she is attempted, it is an encouragement to the attempter to proceed, if one puts one's self in the way of it, when one can help it. 'Tis neither more nor less than inviting him to think that one forgives, what in short ought not to be forgiven, which is no small countenance to foul actions, I assure you. She hugged me to her, and said, I'll assure you. Pretty face, where gottest thou all thy knowledge, and thy good notions at these years? Thou art a miracle for thy age, and I shall always love thee. But do you resolve to leave us, Pamela? Yes, my dear Mrs. Jervis, said I, for as matters stand, how can I do otherwise? But I'll finish the duties of my place first, if I may, and hope you'll give me a character, as to my honesty, that it may not be thought I was turned away for any harm. Ay, that I will, said she. I will give thee such a character as never a girl at thy years deserved. And I am sure, said I will always love and honour you as my third best friend, wherever I go, or whatever becomes of me. And so we went to bed, and I never waked till 'twas time to rise, which I did as blithe as a bird, and went about my business with great pleasure. But I believe my master is fearfully angry with me, for he passed by me 2 or 3 times, and would not speak to me. And towards evening he met me in the passage, going into the garden, and said such a word to me as I never heard in my life from him to man, woman, or child. For first he said, This creature's always in the way, I think. I said, standing up as close as I could, and the entry was wide enough for a coach too, I hope I shan't be long in your honour's way. D—me, said he, that was the hard word, for a little witch, I have no patience with you. I profess I trembled to hear him say so, but I saw he was vexed, and as I am going away I minded it the less. Well, I see, my dear parents, that when a person will do wicked things, it is no wonder he will speak wicked words. May God keep me out of the way of them both. Your dutiful daughter. End of section 2.
Pamela, or Virtue Rewarded, by Samuel Richardson. Section 3. Letter 19. Dear Father and Mother, Our John having an opportunity to go your way, I write again, and send both letters at once. I can't say, yet, when I shall get away, nor how I shall come, because Mrs. Jervis shewed my master the waistcoat I am flowering for him, and he said, It looks well enough. I think the creature had best stay till she has finished it. There is some private talk carried on betwixt him and Mrs. Jervis, that she don't tell me of; but yet she is very kind to me, and I don't mistrust her at all. I should be very base if I did. But to be sure she must oblige him, and keep all his lawful commands; and other, I dare say, she won't keep. She is too good, and loves me too well, but she must stay when I am gone, and so must get no ill will. She has been at me again to ask to stay, and humble myself. But what have I done, Mrs. Jervis? said I. If I have been a sauce-box, and a bold-face, and a pert, and a creature, as he calls me, have I not had reason? Do you think I should ever have forgot myself, if he had not forgot to act as my master? Tell me from your own heart, dear Mrs. Jervis, said I, if you think I could stay and be safe. What would you think, or how would you act in my case? My dear Pamela, said she, and kissed me, I don't know how I should act, or what I should think. I hope I should act as you do. But I know nobody else that would. My master is a fine gentleman. He has a great deal of wit and sense, and is admired, as I know, by half a dozen ladies, who would think themselves happy in his addresses. He has a noble estate, and yet I believe he loves my good maiden, though his servant, better than all ladies in the land; and he has tried to overcome it, because you are so much his inferior; and 'tis my opinion he finds he can't, and that vexes his proud heart, and makes him resolve you shan't stay, and so he speaks so cross to you, when he sees you by accident. Well, but, Mrs. Jervis, said I, let me ask you, if he can stoop to like such a poor girl as me, as perhaps he may, for I have read of things almost as strange from great men to poor damsels, what can it be for? He may condescend, perhaps, to think I may be good enough for his harlot, and those things don't disgrace men that ruin poor women, as the world goes. And so if I was wicked enough, he would keep me till I was undone, and till his mind changed; for even wicked men, I have read, soon grow weary of wickedness with the same person, and love variety. Well then, poor Pamela must be turned off, and looked upon as a vile abandoned creature, and every body would despise her; aye, and justly too, Mrs. Jervis; for she that can't keep her virtue ought to live in disgrace. But, Mrs. Jervis, I continued, let me tell you, that I hope, if I was sure he would always be kind to me, and never turn me off at all, that I shall have so much grace as to hate and withstand his temptations, were he not only my master, but my king; and that for sin's sake. This my poor dear parents have always taught me, and I should be a sad wicked creature indeed, if, for the sake of riches or favour, I should forfeit my good name; yea, and worse than any other young body of my sex, because I can so contentedly return to my poverty again, and think it a less disgrace to be obliged to wear rags, and live upon rye bread and water, as I used to do, than to be a harlot to the greatest man in the world. Mrs. Jervis lifted up her hands, and had her eyes full of tears. God bless you, my dear love, said she. You are my admiration and delight. How shall I do to part with you? Well, good Mrs. Jervis, said I, let me ask you now. You and he have had some talk, and you mayn't be suffered to tell me all. But, do you think, if I was to ask to stay, that he is sorry for what he has done? Ay, and ashamed of it too? For I am sure he ought, considering his high degree, and my low degree, and how I have nothing in the world to trust to but my honesty. Do you think in your own conscience now, pray answer me truly, that he would never offer anything to me again, and that I could be safe? Alas, my dear child, said she, don't put thy home questions to me, with that pretty becoming earnestness in thy look. I know this, that he is vexed at what he has done. He was vexed the first time, more vexed the second time. Yes, said I, and so he will be vexed, I suppose, the third and the fourth time too, till he has quite ruined your poor maiden. And who will have cause to be vexed then? Nay, Pamela, said she, don't imagine that I would be accessory to your ruin for the world. I only can say, that he has, yet, done you no hurt, and it is no wonder he should love you, you are so pretty; though so much beneath him but, I dare swear for him, he never will offer you any force. You say, said I, that he was sorry for his first offer in the summer-house. Well, and how long did his sorrow last? Only till he found me by myself, and then he was worse than before, and so became sorry again. And if he has deigned to love me, and you say can't help it, why, he can't help it neither, if he should have an opportunity, a third time, to distress me. And I have read that many a man has been ashamed of his wicked attempts, when he has been repulsed, that would never have been ashamed of them had he succeeded. Besides, Mrs. Jervis, if he really intends to offer no force, what does that mean? While you say he can't help liking me, for love it cannot be, does it not imply that he hopes to ruin me by my own consent? I think, said I, and I hope I should have grace to do so, that I should not give way to his temptations on any account. But it would be very presumptuous in me to rely upon my own strength against a gentleman of his qualifications and estate, and who is my waster, and thinks himself entitled to call me bold-faced, and what not, only for standing on my necessary defence; and that, too, where the good of my soul and body, and my duty to God and my parents, are all concerned. How then, Mrs. Jervis, said I, can I ask or wish to stay? Well, well, says she, as he seems very desirous you should not stay, I hope it is from a good motive, for fear he should be tempted to disgrace himself as well as you. No, no, Mrs. Jervis, said I have thought of that too, for I would be glad to consider him with that duty that becomes me, but then he would have let me go to Lady Davers, and not have hindered my preferment, and he would not have said I should return to my poverty and distress, when, by his mother's goodness, I had been lifted out of it; but that he intended to fright me, and punish me, as he thought, for not complying with his wickedness; and this shews me well enough what I have to expect from his future goodness, except I will deserve it at his own dear price. She was silent, and I added, Well, there's no more to be said. I must go, that's certain. All my concern will be how to part with you; and indeed, after you, with every body; for all my fellow servants have loved me, and you and they will cost me a sigh, and a tear too, now and then, I am sure. And so I fell a-crying. I could not help it. For it is a pleasant thing to one to be in a house among a great many fellow servants, and be beloved by them all. Nay, I should have told you before now, how kind and civil Mr. Longman our steward is; vastly courteous indeed on all occasions. And he said once to Mrs. Jervis, he wished he was a young man for my sake. I should be his wife, and he would settle all he had upon me on marriage; and, you must know, he is reckoned worth a power of money. I take no pride in this; but bless God, and your good examples, my dear parents, that I have been enabled so to carry myself, as to have every body's good word. Not but our cook one day, who is a little snappish and cross sometimes, said once to me, Why, this Pamela of ours goes as fine as a lady. See what it is to have a fine face. I wonder what the girl will come to at last. She was hot with her work, and I sneaked away, for I seldom go down into the kitchen, and I heard the butler say, Why, Jane, nobody has your good word. What has Mrs. Pamela done to you? I am sure she offends nobody. And what, said the peevish wench, have I said to her, fool-a-turn, but that she was pretty? They quarrelled afterwards, I heard. I was sorry for it, but troubled myself no more about it. Forgive this silly prattle from Your dutiful daughter. Oh, I forgot to say, that I would stay to finish the waistcoat, if I might with safety. Mrs. Jervis tells me I certainly may. I never did a prettier piece of work, and I am up early and late to get it over, for I long to be with you. Letter 20. Dear Father and Mother, I did not send my last letters so soon as I hoped, because John, whether my master mistrusts or no, I can't say, had been sent to Lady Davers's instead of Isaac, who used to go; and I could not be so free with, nor so well trust Isaac, though he is very civil to me too; so I was forced to stay till John returned. As I may not have opportunity to send again soon, and yet, as I know you keep my letters, and read them over and over, so John told me, when you have done work, so much does your kindness make you love all that comes from your poor daughter, and as it may be some little pleasure to me, perhaps, to read them myself, when I am come to you, to remind me of what I have gone through, and how great God's goodness has been to me, which, I hope, will further strengthen my good resolutions, that I may not hereafter from my bad conduct have reason to condemn myself from my own hand as it were. For all these reasons, I say, I will write as I have time, and as matters happen, and send the scribble to you as I have opportunity. And if I don't every time, in form, subscribe as I ought, I am sure you will always believe, that it is not for want of duty. So I will begin where I left off, about the talk between Mrs. Jervis and me, for me to ask to stay. Unknown to Mrs. Jervis, I put a project, as I may call it, in practice. I thought with myself some days ago, here I shall go home to my poor father and mother, and have nothing on my back, that will be fit for my condition. For how should your poor daughter look with a silk nightgown, silken petticoats, cambric head clothes, fine holland linen, laced shoes that were my lady's, and fine stockings? And how in a little while must these have looked, like old cast-offs indeed, and I looked so for wearing them? And people would have said, for poor folks are envious as well as rich, See there Goody Andrews's daughter, turned home from her fine place! What a tawdry figure she makes! And how well that garb becomes her poor parents' circumstances! And how would they look upon me, thought I to myself, when they should come to be threadbare and worn out? And how should I look, even if I could purchase homespun clothes, to dwindle into them one by one as I got them? Maybe, an old silk gown, and a linsey-woolsey petticoat, and the like. So, thought I had better get myself at once equipped in the dress that will become my condition; and though it may look but poor to what I have been used to wear of late days, yet it will serve me, when I am with you, for a good holiday and Sunday suit; and what, by a blessing on my industry, I may, perhaps, make shift to keep up to. So, as I was saying, unknown to anybody, I bought of farmer Nichols's wife and daughters a good sad-coloured stuff, of their own spinning, enough to make me a gown and 2 petticoats; and I made robings and facings of a pretty bit of printed calico I had by me. I had a pretty good camblet quilted coat, that I thought might do tolerably well; and I bought 2 flannel undercoats, not so good as my swanskin and fine linen ones, but what will keep me warm, if my neighbour should get me to go out to help 'em to milk, now and then, as sometimes I used to do formerly; for I am resolved to do all your good neighbours what kindness I can, and hope to make myself as much beloved about you, as I am here. I got some pretty good Scotch cloth, and made me, of mornings and nights, when nobody saw me, 2 shifts; and I have enough left for 2 shirts, and 2 shifts, for you, my dear father and mother. When I come home, I'll make them for you, and desire your acceptance. Then I bought of a pedlar 2 pretty enough round-eared caps, a little straw hat, and a pair of knit mittens, turned up with white calico; and 2 pair of ordinary blue worsted hose, that make a smartish appearance with 2 white clocks, I'll assure you; and 2 yards of black riband for my shift sleeves, and to serve as a necklace. And when I had 'em all come home, I went and looked upon them once in 2 hours, for 2 days together; for you must know, though I be with Mrs. Jervis, I keep my own little apartment still for my clothes, and nobody goes thither but myself. You'll say I was no bad housewife to have saved so much money; but my dear good lady was always giving me something. I believed myself the more obliged to do this, because, as I was turned away for what my good master thought want of duty, and as he expected other returns for his presents than I wanted to make him, so I thought it was but just to leave his presents behind me when I went away; for, you know, if I would not earn his wages, why should I have them? Don't trouble yourself about the 4 guineas, nor borrow to make them up; for they were given me, with some silver, as I told you, as a perquisite, being what my lady had about her when she died; and, as I hope for no wages, I am so vain as to think I have deserved all that money in the 14 months since my lady's death, for she, good soul, overpaid me before, in learning and other kindnesses. Had she lived, none of these things might have happened. But I ought to be thankful 'tis no worse. Every thing will turn out for the best, that's my confidence. So, as I was saying, I have provided a new and more suitable dress, and I long to appear in it more than ever I did in any new clothes in my life. For then I shall be soon after with you, and at ease in my mind. But, Mum, here he comes, I believe. I am, etc. Letter 21. My dear Father and Mother, I was forced to break off, for I feared my master was coming; but it proved to be only Mrs. Jervis. She said, I can't endure you should be so much by yourself, Pamela. And I, said I, dread nothing so much as company, for my heart was up at my mouth now, for fear my master was coming. But I always rejoice to see dear Mrs. Jervis. Said she, I have had a world of talk with my master about you. I am sorry for it, said I, that I am made of so much consequence as to be talked of by him. Oh, said she, I must not tell you all, but you are of more consequence to him than you think, or wish for, said I, for the fruits of being of consequence to him would make me of none to myself or anybody else. Said she, Thou art as witty as any lady in the land. I wonder where thou gottest it. But they must be poor ladies with such great opportunities, I am sure, if they have no more wit than I. But let that pass. I suppose, said I, that I am of so much consequence, however, as to vex him, if he be but to think he can't make a fool of such a one as I; and that is nothing at all, but a rebuke to the pride of his high condition, which he did not expect, and knows not how to put up with. There is something in that, maybe, said she; but indeed, Pamela, he is very angry with you too, and calls you 20 perverse things, wonders at his own folly to have shown you so much favour, as he calls it, which he was first inclined to, he says, for his mother's sake, and would have persisted to show you for your own, if you was not your own enemy. Nay, now I shan't love you, Mrs. Jervis, said I. You are going to persuade me to ask to stay, though you know the hazards I run. No, said she, he says you shall go; for he thinks it won't be for his reputation to keep you. But he wished, don't speak of it for the world, Pamela, that he knew a lady of birth, just such another as yourself, in person and mind, and he would marry her to-morrow. I coloured up to the ears at this word, but said, Yet, if I was a lady of birth, and he would offer to be rude first, as he has twice done to poor me, I don't know whether I would have him; for she that can bear an insult of that kind, I should think not worthy to be a gentleman's wife, any more than he would be a gentleman that would offer it. Nay now, Pamela, said she, thou carriest thy notions a great way. Well, dear Mrs. Jervis, said I very seriously, for I could not help it, I am more full of tears than ever. I have only to beg of you, as one of the best friends I have in the world, to say nothing of my asking to stay. To say my master likes me, when I know what end he aims at, is abomination to my ears, and I shan't think myself safe till I am at my poor father's and mother's. She was a little angry with me, till I assured her that I had not the least uneasiness on her account, but thought myself safe under her protection and friendship; and so we dropped the discourse for that time. I hope to have finished this ugly waistcoat in 2 days, after which I have only some linen to get up, and shall then let you know how I contrive as to my passage; for the heavy rains will make it sad travelling on foot; but maybe I may get my place, to which is 10 miles of the way, in farmer Nichols's close cart; for I cannot sit a horse well at all, and maybe nobody will be suffered to see me on upon the way. But I hope to let you know more. From, etc. Letter 22. My dear Father and Mother, all my fellow servants have now some notion that I am to go away, but can't imagine for what. Mrs. Jervis tells them, that my father and mother, growing in years, cannot live without me, and so I go home to them, to help to comfort their old age, but they seem not to believe it. What they found it out by was, the butler heard him say to me, as I passed by him, in the entry leading to the hall, Who's that? Pamela, sir, said I. Pamela, said he, how long are you to stay here? Only, please your honour, said I, till I have done the waistcoat, and it is almost finished. You might, says he, very roughly indeed, have finished that long enough ago, I should have thought. Indeed, and please your honour, said I have worked early and late upon it. There is a great deal of work in it. Work in it, said he. You mind your pen more than your needle. I don't want such idle sluts to stay in my house. He seemed startled when he saw the butler, as he entered the hall, where Mr. Jonathan stood. What do you here? Said he. The butler was as much confounded as I, for, never having been taxed so roughly, I could not help crying sadly, and got out of both their ways to Mrs. Jervis, and told my complaint. This love, said she, is the D. In how many strange shapes does it make people show themselves, and in some of the farthest from the hearts. So one, and then another, has been since whispering, Pray, Mrs. Jervis, are we to lose Mrs. Pamela? As they always call me. What has she done? And she tells them, as above, about going home to you. She said afterwards to me, Well, Pamela, you have made our master, from the sweetest tempered gentleman in the world, one of the most peevish. But you have it in your power to make him as sweet-tempered as ever, though I hope you'll never do it on his terms. This was very good in Mrs. Jervis, but it intimated that she thought as ill of his designs as I, and as she knew his mind more than I, it convinced me that I ought to get away as fast as I could. My master came in just now, to speak to Mrs. Jervis about household matters, having some company to dine with him to-morrow, and I stood up, and having been crying at his roughness in the entry, I turned away my face. You may well, said he, turn away your cursed face. I wish I had never seen it. Mrs. Jervis, how long is she to be about this waistcoat? Sir, said I, if your honour had pleased, I would have taken it with me, and though it would be now finished in a few hours, I will do so still, and remove this hated poor Pamela out of your house and sight for ever. Mrs. Jervis, said he, not speaking to me, I believe this little slut has the power of witchcraft, if ever there was a witch, for she enchants all that come near her. She makes even you, who should know better what the world is, think her an angel of light. I offered to go away, for I believe he wanted me to ask to stay in my place, for all this his great wrath. And he said, stay here when I bid you, and snatched my hand. I trembled and said, I will, for he hurt my fingers, he grasped me so hard. He seemed to have a mind to say something to me, but broke off abruptly, and said, Begone, and away I tripped as fast as I could. And he and Mrs. Jervis had a deal of talk, as she told me, and among the rest, he expressed himself vexed to have spoken in Mr. Jonathan's hearing. Now you must know that Mr. Jonathan, our butler, is a very grave good sort of old man, with his hair as white as silver, and an honest worthy man he is. I was hurrying out with a flea in my ear, as the saying is, and going downstairs into the parlour, met him. He took hold of my hand, in a gentler manner though than my master, with both his, and he said, Ah, sweet, sweet Mrs. Pamela, what is it I heard but just now? I am sorry at my heart. But I am sure I will sooner believe anybody in fault than you. Thank you, Mr. Jonathan, said I, but as you value your place, don't be seen speaking to such a one as me. I cried too, and slipped away as fast as I could from him, for his own sake, lest he should be seen to pity me. And now I will give you an instance, how much I am in Mr. Longman's esteem also. I had lost my pen somehow, and my paper being written out, I stepped to Mr. Longman's, our steward's, office, to beg him to give me a pen or two, and a sheet or two of paper. He said, Ay, that I will, my sweet maiden, and gave me 3 pens, some wafers, a stick of wax, and 12 sheets of paper. And coming from his desk, where he was writing, he said, Let me have a word or two with you, my sweet little mistress, for so these 2 good old gentlemen often call me, for I believe they love me dearly. I hear bad news, that we are going to lose you. I hope it is not true. Yes, it is, sir, said I, but I was in hopes it would not be known until I went away. What a devil, he said, ails our master of late. I never saw such an alteration in any man in my life. He is pleased with nobody, as I see. and by what Mr. Jonathan tells me just now, he was quite out of the way with you. What could you have done to him, Tro? Only Mrs. Jervis is a very good woman, or I should have feared she had been your enemy. No, said I, nothing like it. Mrs. Jervis is a just good woman, and, next to my father and mother, the best friend I have in the world. Well then, said he, it must be worse. Shall I guess? You are too pretty, my sweet mistress, and, maybe, too virtuous. Ah, have I not hit it? No, good Mr. Longman, said I. Don't think anything amiss of my master. He is cross and angry with me indeed, that's true, but I may have given occasion for it, possibly. And because I am desirous to go to my father and mother, rather than stay here, perhaps he may think me ungrateful. But you know, sir, said I, that a father and mother's comfort is the dearest thing to a good child that can be. Sweet excellence, said he, this becomes you. But I know the world and mankind too well, though I must hear and see and say nothing. And so a blessing attend my little sweeting, said he, wherever you go. And away I went with a curtsy and thanks. Now this pleases me, my dear father and mother, to be so beloved. How much better, by good fame and integrity, is it to get every one's good word but one, than, by pleasing that one, to make every one else one's enemy, and be an execrable creature besides. I am, etc. Letter XXIII. My dear Father and Mother, we had a great many neighbouring gentlemen and their ladies this day at dinner, and my master made a fine entertainment for them, and Isaac and Mr. Jonathan and Benjamin waited at table, and Isaac tells Mrs. Jervis that the ladies will by and by come to see the house, and have the curiosity to see me. For, it seems, they said to my master, when the jokes flew about, Well, Mr. B., we understand you have a servant maid, who is the greatest beauty in the county, and we promise ourselves to see her before we go. The wench is well enough, said he, but no such beauty as you talk of, I'll assure ye. She was my mother's waiting maid, who, on her death-bed, engaged me to be kind to her. She is young, and everything is pretty that is young. Ay, ay, said one of the ladies, that's true, but if your mother had not recommended her so strongly, there is so much merit in beauty, that I make no doubt such a fine gentleman would have wanted no inducement to be kind to it. They all laughed at my master, and he, it seems, laughed for company, but said, I don't know how it is, but I see with different eyes from other people, for I have heard much more talk of her prettiness than I think it deserves. She is well enough, as I said, but her greatest excellence is, that she is humble, and courteous, and faithful, and makes all her fellow servants love her. My housekeeper, in particular, dotes upon her; and you know, ladies, she is a woman of discernment. And as for Mr. Longman and Jonathan here, if they thought themselves young enough, I am told, they would fight for her. Is it not true, Jonathan? Troth, sir, said he, and please your honour, I never knew her peer, and all your honour's family are of the same mind. Do you hear now? Said my master. Well, said the ladies, we will make a visit to Mrs. Jervis by and by, and hope to see this paragon. I believe they are coming, and will tell you the rest by and by. I wish they had come, and were gone. Why can't they make their game without me? Well, these fine ladies have been here, and are gone back again. I would have been absent if I could, and did step into the closet, so they saw me when they came in. There were 4 of them, Lady Arthur at the great white house on the hill, Lady Brooks, Lady Towers, and the other, it seems, a countess, of some hard name, I forget what. So, Mrs. Jervis, says one of the ladies, how do you do? We are all come to inquire after your health. I am much obliged to your ladyships, said Mrs. Jervis. Will your ladyships please to sit down? But, said the countess, we are not only come to ask after Mrs. Jervis's health neither, but we are come to see a rarity besides. Ah, says Lady Arthur, I have not seen your Pamela these 2 years, and they tell me she is grown wondrous pretty in that time. Then I wished I had not been in the closet, for when I came out, they must needs know I heard them. But I have often found that bashful bodies owe themselves a spite, and frequently confound themselves more, by endeavouring to avoid confusion. Why, yes, says Mrs. Jervis, Pamela is very pretty indeed. She's but in the closet there. Pamela, pray step hither. I came out all covered with blushes, and they smiled at one another. The countess took me by the hand. Why, indeed, she was pleased to say, report has not been too lavish, I'll assure you. Don't be ashamed, child, and stared full in my face. I wish I had just such a face to be ashamed of. Oh, how like a fool I looked! Lady Arthur said, Ay, my good Pamela, I say as your ladyship does. Don't be so confused, though, indeed, it becomes you too. I think your good lady departed made a sweet choice of such a pretty attendant. She would have been mighty proud of you, as she was always praising you, had she lived till now. Ah, madam, said Lady Brooks, do you think that so dutiful a son as our neighbour, who always admired what his mother loved, does not pride himself, for all that he said at table, in such a pretty maiden? She looked with such a malicious sneering countenance, I can't abide her. Lady Towers said with a free air, for it seems she is called a wit, Well, Mrs. Pamela, I can't say I like you so well as these ladies do, for I should never care, if you were my servant, to have you and your master in the same house together. Then they all set up a great laugh. I know what I could have said, if I durst, but they are ladies, and ladies may say anything. Says Lady Towers, Can the pretty image speak, Mrs. Jervis? I vow she has speaking eyes. Oh, you little rogue, said she, and tapped me on the cheek, you seem born to undo, or to be undone. God forbid, and please your ladyship, said I, it should be either. I beg, said I, to withdraw, for the sense I have of my unworthiness renders me unfit for such a presence. I then went away, with one of my best courtesies. And Lady Towers said, as I went out, Prettily said, I vow. And Lady Brooks said, See that shape! I never saw such a face and shape in my life. Why, she must be better descended than you have told me. And so they run on for half an hour more in my praises, as I was told; and glad was I when I got out of the hearing of them. But, it seems, they went down with such a story to my master, and so full of me, that he had much ado to stand it. But as it was very little to my reputation, I am sure I could take no pride in it; and I feared it would make no better for me. This gives me another cause for wishing myself out of this house. This is Thursday morning, and next Thursday I hope to set out; for I have finished my task, and my master is horrid cross. And I am vexed his crossness affects me so. If ever he had any kindness towards me, I believe he now hates me heartily. Is it not strange that love borders so much upon hate? But this wicked love is not like the true virtuous love, to be sure. That and hatred must be as far off as light and darkness. And how must this hate have been increased, if he had met with such a base compliance, after his wicked will had been gratified? Well, one may see by little what a great deal means; for if innocence cannot attract common civility, what must guilt expect, when novelty has ceased to have its charms, and changeableness has taken place of it? Thus we read in Holy Writ, that wicked Amnon, when he had ruined poor Tamar, hated her more than he ever loved her, and would have turned her out of door. How happy am I to be turned out of door, with that sweet companion my Innocence! O may that be always my companion! And while I presume not upon my own strength, and am willing to avoid the tempter, I hope the divine grace will assist me. Forgive me, that I repeat in my letter part of my hourly prayer. I owe everything, next to God's goodness, to your piety and good examples, my dear parents, my poor dear parents. I say that word with pleasure, for your poverty is my pride, as your integrity shall be my imitation. As soon as I have dined, I will put on my new clothes. I long to have them on. I know I shall surprise Mrs. Jervis with them, for she shan't see me till I am full dressed. John is come back, and I'll soon send you some of what I have written. I find he is going early in the morning; and so I shall close here, that I am, Your most dutiful daughter. Don't lose your time in meeting me because I am so uncertain. It is hard if, somehow or other, I can't get passage to you. But maybe my master won't refuse to let John bring me. I can ride behind him, I believe, well enough, for he is very careful and very honest. And you know John as well as I, for he loves you both. Besides, maybe, Mrs. Jervis can put me in some way. End of section 3.
Or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by John Nixon, the Supercargo, of www.thesupercargo.com. Pamela, or Virtue Rewarded, by Samuel Richardson. Section 4. Letter 24. Dear Father and Mother, I shall write on as long as I stay, though I should have nothing but silliness to write, for I know you divert yourselves on nights with what I write, because it is mine. John tells me how much you long for my coming, but he says he told you he hoped something would happen to hinder it. I am glad you did not tell him the occasion of my coming away, for if my fellow servants should guess, it were better so, than to have it from you or me. Besides, I really am concerned that my master should cast away a thought upon such a poor creature as me, for, besides the disgrace, it has quite turned his temper, and I begin to believe what Mrs. Jervis told me, that he likes me, and can't help it, and yet strives to conquer it, and so finds no way but to be cross to me. Don't think me presumptuous and conceited, for it is more my concern than my pride to see such a gentleman so demean himself, and lessen the regard he used to have in the eyes of all his servants on my account. But I am to tell you of my new dress to-day. And so, when I had dined, upstairs I went, and locked myself into my little room. There I tricked myself up as well as I could in my new garb, and put on my round-eared ordinary cap, but with a green knot, however, and my homespun gown and petticoat, and plain leather shoes, but yet they are what they call Spanish leather, and my ordinary hose, or ordinary, I mean, to what I have been lately used to, though I shall think good yarn may do very well for every day when I come home. A plain muslin tucker I put on, and my black silk necklace instead of the French necklace my lady gave me, and put the earrings out of my ears, and when I was quite equipped, I took my straw hat in my hand with its 2 blue strings, and looked about me in the glass as proud as anything. To say truth, I never liked myself so well in my life. Oh, the pleasure of descending with ease, innocence, and resignation! Indeed, there is nothing like it. An humble mind, I plainly see, cannot meet with any very shocking disappointment, let fortune's wheel turn round as it will. So I went down to look for Mrs. Jervis, to see how she liked me. I met, as I was upon the stairs, our Rachel, who is the housemaid, and she made me a low curtsy, and I found did not know me. So I smiled, and went to the housekeeper's parlour, and there sat good Mrs. Jervis at work, making a shift, and would you believe it, she did not know me at first, but rose up, and pulled off her spectacles, and said, "Do you want me, forsooth?" I could not help laughing, and said, "Hey day, Mrs. Jervis, what, don't you know me?" She stood all in amaze, and looked at me from top to toe. "Why, you surprise me," said she. "What, Pamela, thus metamorphosed? How came this about?" As it happened, in stepped my master, and my back being to him, he thought it was a stranger speaking to Mrs. Jervis, and withdrew again, and did not hear her ask if his honour had any commands for her. She turned me about, and I showed her all my dress, to my under petticoat, and she said, sitting down, "Why, I am all in amaze. I must sit down. What can all this mean?" I told her I had no clothes suitable to my condition when I returned to my father's, and so it was better to begin here, as I was soon to go away, that all my fellow servants might see I knew how to suit myself to the state I was returning to. "Well," said she, "I never knew the like of thee. But this sad preparation for going away, for now I see you are quite in earnest, is what I know not how to get over. Oh, my dear Pamela, how can I part with you? My master rung in the back parlour, and so I withdrew, and Mrs. Jervis went to attend him. It seems he said to her, "I was coming in to let you know that I shall go to Lincolnshire, and possibly to my sister Davers, and be absent some weeks. But pray, what pretty neat damsel was with you?" She says she smiled, and asked if his honour did not know who it was. "No," said he. "I never saw her before. Farmer Nichols or Farmer Brady have neither of them such a tight prim lass for a daughter, have they? Though I did not see her face, neither," said he. "If your honour won't be angry," said she, "I will introduce her into your presence, for I think," says she outdoes our Pamela." Now, I did not thank her for this, as I told her afterwards, for it brought a great deal of trouble upon me, as well as crossness, as you shall hear.
"That can't be," he was pleased to say. "But if you can find an excuse for it, let her come in."
At that she stepped to me, and told me I must go in with her to her master. "But," said she, "for goodness' sake let him find you out, for he don't know you." "Oh, fie, Mrs. Jervis," said I, "how could you serve me so? Besides, it looks too free, both in me and to him." "I tell you," said she, "you shall come in, and pray don't reveal yourself till he finds you out." So I went in, foolish as I was, though I must have been seen by him another time, if I had not then, and she would make me take my straw hat in my hand. I dropped a low curtsy, but said never a word. I dare say he knew me as soon as he saw my face, but was cunning as Lucifer. He came up to me and took me by the hand, and said,
"Whose pretty maiden are you? I dare say you're Pamela's sister. You're so like her, so neat, so clean, so pretty. Why, child, you far surpass your sister Pamela."
I was all confusion, and would have spoken, but he took me about the neck.
"Why," said he, "you're very pretty, child. I would not be so free with your sister, you may believe, but I must kiss you."
"Oh, sir," said I am Pamela, indeed I am. Indeed I am Pamela, her own self." He kissed me for all I could do, and said,
"Impossible! You're a lovelier girl by half than Pamela, and sure I may be innocently free with you, though I would not do her so much favour." This was a sad trick upon me indeed, and what I could not expect, and Mrs. Jervis looked like a fool as much as I for her officiousness. At last I got away, and ran out of the parlour, most sadly vexed, as you may well think. He talked a good deal to Mrs. Jervis, and at last ordered me to come in to him. "Come in," said he, "you little villain," for so he called me. Good sirs, what a name was there! "Who is it you put your tricks upon? I was resolved never to honour your unworthiness," said he, "with so much notice again, and so you must disguise yourself to attract me, and yet pretend, like an hypocrite as you are."
I was out of patience then. "Hold, good sir," said I, "don't impute disguise and hypocrisy to me, above all things, for I hate them both. Mean as I am, I have put on no disguise."
"What a plague," said he, for that was his word, "do you mean then by this dress?"
"Why, and please your honour," said I mean one of the honestest things in the world. I have been in disguise indeed, ever since my good lady your mother took me from my poor parents. I came to her ladyship so poor and mean, that these clothes I have on are a princely suit to those I had then, and her goodness heaped upon me rich clothes and other bounties, and as I am now returning to my poor parents again so soon, I cannot wear those good things without being hooted at, and so have bought what will be more suitable to my degree, and be a good holiday suit too, when I get home." He then took me in his arms, and presently pushed me from him.
"Mrs. Jervis," said he, "take the little witch from me. I can neither bear nor forbear her." Strange words these. "But stay, you shan't go. Yet be gone. No, come back again."
I thought he was mad for my share, for he knew not what he would have. I was going, however, but he stepped after me, and took hold of my arm, and brought me in again. I am sure he made my arm black and blue, for the marks are upon it still. "Sir, sir," said I, "pray have mercy. I will come in." He sat down, and looked at me, and, as I thought afterwards, as sillily as such a poor girl as I. At last he said,
"Well, Mrs. Jervis, as I was telling you, you may permit her to stay a little longer, till I see if my sister Davers will have her. If, meantime, she humble herself and ask this as a favour, and is sorry for her pertness, and the liberty she has taken with my character out of the house, and in the house—"
"Your honour indeed told me so," said Mrs. Jervis, "but I never found her inclinable to think herself in fault."
Pride and perverseness, said he, with a vengeance. Yet this is your doting piece? Well, for once I'll submit myself to tell you, hussy, said he to me, you may stay a fortnight longer, till I see my sister Davers. Do you hear what I say to you, statue? Can you neither speak nor be thankful?
Your honour frightens me so, said I, that I can hardly speak, but I will venture to say that I have only to beg as a favour that I may go to my father and mother.
Why, fool, said he, won't you like to go wait on my sister Davers?
Sir, I said, I was once fond of that honour, but you were pleased to say I might be in danger from her ladyship's nephew, or he from me.
Damned impertinence, said he. Do you hear, Miss Jervis? Do you hear how she retorts upon me? Was ever such matchless assurance?
I then fell a-weeping, for Mrs. Jervis said, Fie, Pamela, fie. And I said, my lot is very hard indeed. I am sure I would hurt nobody, and I have been, it seems, guilty of indiscretions, which have cost me my place and my master's favour, and so have been turned here away. And when the time is come that I should return to my poor parents, I am not suffered to go quietly. Good your honour, what have I done that I must be used worse than if I had robbed you?
Robbed me, said he. Why, so you have, hussy. You have robbed me.
Who, sir? I, sir, said I, have I robbed you? Why then you are a justice of peace, and may send me to jail if you please, and bring me to a trial for my life. If you can prove that I have robbed you, I am sure I ought to die. Now I was quite ignorant of his meaning, though I did not like it when it was afterwards explained neither. And well, thought I, what will this come to at last, if poor Pamela is esteemed a thief? Then I thought in an instant how I should show my face to my honest poor parents if I was but suspected. But, sir, said I, let me ask you but one question, and pray don't let me be called names for it, for I don't mean disrespectfully. Why, if I have done amiss, am I not left to be discharged by your housekeeper, as the other maids have been? And if Jane, or Rachel, or Hannah were to offend, would your honour stoop to take notice of them? And why should you so demean yourself to take notice of me? Pray, sir, if I have not been worse than others, why should I suffer more than others? And why should I not be turned away? And there's an end of it. For indeed I am not of consequence enough for my master to concern himself, and be angry about such a creature as me.
Do you hear, Mrs. Jervis? Cried he again, how pertly I am interrogated by this saucy slut. Why, sauce-box, says he, did not my good mother desire me to take care of you? And have you not been always distinguished by me above a common servant? And does your ingratitude upbraid me for this? I said something mutteringly, and he vowed he would hear it. I begged excuse, but he insisted upon it. Why then, said I, if your honour must know, I said, that my good lady did not desire your care to extend to the summer-house and her dressing-room. Well, this was a little saucy, you'll say, and he flew into such a passion that I was forced to run for it, and Mrs. Jervis said it was happy I got out of the way. Why, what makes him provoke one so then? I'm almost sorry for it, but I would be glad to get away at any rate, for I begin to be more fearful now. Just now Mr. Jonathan sent me these lines. Bless me, what shall I do? Dear Mrs. Pamela, take care of yourself, for Rachel heard my master say to Mrs. Jervis, who she believes was pleading for you, say no more, Mrs. Jervis, for by God I will have her. Burn this instantly. Oh, pray for your poor daughter. I am called to go to bed by Mrs. Jervis, for it is past 11, and I am sure she shall hear of it, for all this is owing to her, though she did not mean any harm. But I have been and am in a strange fluster, and I suppose too she'll say I have been full pert. Oh, my dear father and mother, power and riches never want advocates. But poor gentlewoman, she cannot live without him, and he has been very good to her. So good night. Maybe I shall send this in the morning, but maybe not, so won't conclude, though I can't say too often that I am, though with great apprehension, your most dutiful daughter. Letter 25. My dear parents, oh, let me take up my complaint and say, never was poor creature so unhappy and so barbarously used as poor Pamela. Indeed, my dear father and mother, my heart's just broke. I can neither write as I should do, nor let it alone, for to whom but you can I vent my griefs, and keep my poor heart from bursting?
Wicked, wicked man! I have no patience when I think of him, but yet don't be frightened, for I hope I am honest. But if my head and my hand will let me, you shall hear all. Is there no constable, no headborough, though, to take me out of this house? For I am sure I can safely swear the peace against him. But, alas, he is greater than any constable. He is a justice himself. Such a justice deliver me from! But God Almighty, I hope, in time will right me, for he knows the innocence of my heart. John went your way in the morning, but I have been too much distracted to send by him, and have seen nobody but Mrs. Jervis or Rachel, and one I hate to see or be seen by, and indeed I hate now to see anybody. Strange things I have to tell you, that happened since last night. That good Mr. Jonathan's letter and my master's harshness put me into such a fluster, but I will not keep you in suspense. I went to Mrs. Jervis's chamber, and, oh dreadful, my wicked master had hid himself, base gentleman as he is, in her closet, where she has a few books and chest of drawers and such like. I little suspected it, though I used till this sad night always to look into that closet, and another in the room, and under the bed, ever since the summer-house trick, but never found anything, and so I did not do it then, being fully resolved to be angry with Mrs. Jervis for what had happened in the day, and so thought of nothing else. I sat myself down on one side of the bed, and she on the other, and we began to undress ourselves, but she on that side next the wicked closet that held the worst heart in the world. So, said Mrs. Jervis, you won't speak to me, Pamela? I find you are angry with me. Why, Mrs. Jervis, said I, so I am a little. 'Tis a folly to deny it. You see what I have suffered by your forcing me into my master, and a gentlewoman of your years and experience must needs know that it was not fit for me to pretend to be anybody else for my own sake, nor with regard to my master. But, said she, who would have thought it would have turned out so? Ay, said I, little thinking who heard me, Lucifer always is ready to promote his own work and workmen. You see presently what use he made of it, pretending not to know me on purpose to be free with me. And when he took upon himself to know me, to quarrel with me, and to use me hardly. And you too, said I, to cry fie, fie, Pamela, cut me to the heart, for that encouraged him. Do you think, my dear, said she, that I would encourage him? I never said so to you before, but since you have forced it from me, I must tell you that ever since you consulted me, I have used my utmost endeavours to divert him from his wicked purposes, and he has promised fair. But to say all in a word, he dotes upon you, and I begin to see it is not in his power to help it. I luckily said nothing of the note from Mr. Jonathan, for I began to suspect all the world almost, but I said, to try Mrs. Jervis, well then, what would you have me do? You see he is for having me wait on Lady Davers now. Why, I'll tell you freely, my dear Pamela, said she, and I trust to your discretion to conceal what I say. My master has been often desiring me to put you upon asking him to let you stay. Yes, said I, Mrs. Jervis, let me interrupt you. I will tell you why I could not think of that. It was not the pride of my heart, but the pride of my honesty. For what must have been the case? Here my master has been very rude to me, once and twice, and you say he cannot help it, though he pretends to be sorry for it. Well, he has given me warning to leave my place, and uses me very harshly, perhaps to frighten me to his purposes, as he supposes I would be fond of staying, as indeed I should if I could be safe, for I love you and all the house, and value him if he would act as my master. Well then, as I know his designs, and that he owns that he cannot help it, must I have asked to stay, knowing he would attempt me again? For all you could assure me of was he would do nothing by force. So I, a poor weak girl, was to be left to my own strength, and was not this to allow him to tempt me, as one may say, and to encourage him to go on in his wicked devices? How then, Mrs. Jervis, could I ask or wish to stay? You say well, my dear child, says she, and you have a justness of thought above your years. For all these considerations, and for what I have heard this day after you ran away, and I'm glad you went as you did, I cannot persuade you to stay, and I shall be glad, which is what I never thought I could have said, that you were well at your father's, for if Lady Davers will entertain you, she may as well have you from thence as here. There's my good Mrs. Jervis, said I. God will bless you for your good counsel to a poor maiden that's hard beset. But pray, what did he say when I was gone? Why, says she, he was very angry with you. But he would hear it, said I. I think it was a little bold, but then he provoked me to it, and had not my honesty been in the case, I would not by any means have been so saucy. Besides, Mrs. Jervis, consider it was the truth. If he does not love to hear of the summer house and the dressing-room, why should he not be ashamed to continue in the same mind? But, says she, when you had muttered this to yourself, you might have told him anything else. Well, said I cannot tell a wilful lie, and so there's an end of it. But I find you now give him up, and think there's danger in staying. Lord bless me, I wish I was well out of the house, so it was at the bottom of a wet ditch on the wildest common in England. Why, said she, it signifies nothing to tell you all he said, but it was enough to make me fear that you would not be so safe as I could wish, and upon my word, Pamela, I don't wonder he loves you, for without flattery you are a charming girl. I never saw you look more lovely in your life than in that same new dress of yours. And then it was such a surprise upon us all. I believe truly you owe some of your danger to the lovely appearance you made. Then, said I wish the clothes in the fire. I expected no effect from them, but if any, a quite contrary one. Hush, said I. Mrs. Jervis, did you not hear something stir in the closet? No, silly girl, said she. Your fears are always awake. But indeed, said I think I heard something rustle. Maybe, says she, the cat may be got there. But I hear nothing. I was hush, but she said, Prithee, my good girl, make haste to bed, see if the door be fast. So I did, and was thinking to look into the closet, but hearing no more noise, thought it needless, and so went again, and sat myself down on the bedside, and went on undressing myself. And Mrs. Jervis, being by this time undressed, stepped into bed, and bid me hasten, for she was sleepy. I don't know what was the matter, but my heart sadly misgave me. Indeed, Mr. Jonathan's note was enough to make it do so, with what Mrs. Jervis had said. I pulled off my stays and my stockings and all my clothes to an under petticoat, and then, hearing a rustle again in the closet, I said, Heaven protect us, but before I say my prayers I must look into this closet. And so was going to it, slipshod, when, oh, dreadful! Out rushed my master in a rich silk and silver morning gown. I screamed and ran to the bed, and Mrs. Jervis screamed too, and he said, I'll do you no harm if you forbear this noise, but otherwise take what follows. Instantly he came to the bed, for I had crept into it, to Mrs. Jervis, with my coat on and my shoes, and taking me in his arms, said, Mrs. Jervis, rise and just step upstairs, and keep the maids from coming down at this noise. I'll do no harm to this rebel. Oh, for heaven's sake, for pity's sake, Mrs. Jervis, said I, if I am not betrayed, don't leave me, and I beseech you raise all the house. No, said Mrs. Jervis, I will not stir, my dear lamb, I will not leave you. I wonder at you, sir, said she, and kindly threw herself upon my coat, clasping me around the waist. You shall not hurt this innocent, said she, for I will lose my life in her defence. Are there not, said she, enough wicked ones in the world for your base purpose, but you must attempt such a lamb as this? He was desperate angry, and threatened to throw her out of the window, and to turn her out of the house the next morning. You need not, sir, said she, for I will not stay in it. God defend my poor Pamela till to-morrow, and we will both go together. Says he, Let me but expostulate a word or two with you, Pamela. Pray, Pamela, said Mrs. Jervis, don't hear a word, except he leaves the bed and goes to the other end of the room. Ay, out of the room, said I. Expostulate to-morrow, if you must expostulate. I found his hand in my bosom, and when my fright let me know it, I was ready to die, and I sighed and screamed and fainted away, and still he had his arms about my neck, and Mrs. Jervis was about my feet and upon my coat, and all in a cold dewy sweat was I. Pamela, Pamela, said Mrs. Jervis, as she tells me since, oh, and gave another shriek, my poor Pamela is dead for certain. And so to be sure I was for a time, for I knew nothing more of the matter, one fit following another, till about 3 hours after, as it proved to be, I found myself in bed, and Mrs. Jervis sitting upon one side with her wrapper about her, and Rachel on the other, and no master, for the wicked wretch was gone. But I was so overjoyed that I hardly could believe myself, and I said, which were my first words, Mrs. Jervis, Mrs. Rachel, can I be sure it's you? Tell me, can I? Where have I been? Hush, my dear, said Mrs. Jervis. You have been in fit after fit. I never saw anybody so frightful in my life. By this I judged Rachel knew nothing of the matter, and it seems my wicked master had, upon Mrs. Jervis's second noise on my fainting away, slipped out, and, as if he had come from his own chamber, disturbed by the screaming, went up to the maid's room, who, hearing the noise, lay trembling and afraid to stir, and bid them go down and see what was the matter with Mrs. Jervis and me. And he charged Mrs. Jervis, and promised to forgive her for what she had said and done, if she would conceal the matter. So the maids came down, and all went up again when I came to myself a little, except Rachel, who stayed to sit up with me and bear Mrs. Jervis company. I believe they all guessed the matter to be bad enough, though they dare not say anything. When I think of my danger, and the freedoms he actually took, though I believe Mrs. Jervis saved me from worse, and she said she did, though what can I think, who was in a fit and knew nothing of the matter? I am almost distracted. At first I was afraid of Mrs. Jervis, but I am fully satisfied. She is very good, and I should have been lost but for her. And she takes on grievously about it. What would have become of me had she gone out of the room to still the maids, as he bid her? He'd certainly have shut her out, and then mercy on me! What would have become of your poor Pamela? I must leave off a little, for my eyes and my head are sadly bad. This was a dreadful trial. This was the worst of all. Oh, that I was out of the power of this dreadfully wicked man! Pray for your distressed daughter. Letter 26. My dear father and mother, I did not rise till 10 o'clock, and I had all the concerns and wishes of the family, and multitudes of inquiries about me. My wicked master went out early to hunt, but left word he would be in to breakfast, and so he was. He came up to our chamber about 11, and had nothing to do to be sorry, for he was our master, and so put on sharp anger at first. I had great emotions at his entering the room, and threw my apron over my head, and fell a-crying, as if my heart would break. Mrs. Jervis, said he, since I know you, and you me so well, I don't know how we shall live together for the future. Sir, said she, I will take the liberty to say what I think is best for both. I have so much grief that you should attempt to do any injury to this poor girl, and especially in my chamber, that I should think myself accessory to the mischief, if I was not to take notice of it. Though my ruin therefore may depend upon it, I desire not to stay, but pray let poor Pamela and me go together. With all my heart, said he, and the sooner the better. She fell a-crying. I find, says he, this girl has made a party of the whole house in her favour against me. Her innocence deserves it of us all, said she, very kindly, and I never could have thought that the son of my dear good lady departed could have so forfeited his honour as to endeavour to destroy a virtue he ought to protect. No more of this, Mrs. Jervis, said he. I will not hear it. As for Pamela, she has a lucky knack of falling into fits when she pleases, but the cursed yellings of you both made me not myself. I intended no harm to her, as I told you both, if you'd have left off your squallings, and I did no harm neither, but to myself, for I raised a hornet's nest about my ears that, as far as I know, may have stung to death my reputation. Sir, said Mrs. Jervis, then I beg Mr. Longman may take my accounts, and I will go away as soon as I can. As for Pamela, she is at her liberty, I hope, to go away next Thursday, as she intends. I sat still, for I could not speak nor look up, and his presence discomposed me extremely, but I was sorry to hear myself the unhappy occasion of Mrs. Jervis's losing her place, and hope that may be still made up. Well, said he, let Mr. Longman make up your accounts as soon as you will, and Mrs. Jewkes, who is his housekeeper in Lincolnshire, shall come hither in your place, and won't be less obliging, I dare say, than you have been. Said she, I have never disobliged you till now, and let me tell you, sir, if you knew what belonged to your own reputation or honour— No more, said he, of these antiquated topics. I have been no bad friend to you, and I shall always esteem you, though you have not been so faithful to my secrets as I could have wished, and have laid me open to this girl, which has made her more afraid of me than she had occasion. Well, sir, said she, after what passed yesterday and last night, I think I went rather too far in favour of your injunctions than otherwise, and I should have deserved everybody's censure as the basest of creatures, had I been capable of contributing to your lawless attempts. Still, Mrs. Jervis, still reflecting upon me, and all for imaginary faults, for what harm have I done the girl? I won't bear it, I'll assure you. But yet, in respect to my mother, I am willing to part friendly with you, though you ought both of you to reflect on the freedom of your conversation in relation to me, which I should have resented more than I do, but that I am conscious I had no business to demean myself so as to be in your closet, where I might have expected to hear a multitude of impertinence between you. Well, sir, said she, you have no objection, I hope, to Pamela going away on Thursday next. You are mighty solicitous, said he, about Pamela, but no, not I. Let her go as soon as she will. She is a naughty girl, and has brought all this upon herself, and upon me more trouble than she can have had from me, but I have overcome it all, and will never concern myself about her. I have a proposal made me, added he, since I have been out this morning, that I shall go near to embrace, and so wish only that a discreet use may be made of what is past, and there's an end of everything with me as to Pamela, I assure you. I clasped my hands together through my apron, overjoyed at this, though I was soon to go away. For naughty as he has been to me, I wish his prosperity with all my heart, for my good old lady's sake. Well, Pamela, says he, you need not now be afraid to speak to me. Tell me what you lifted up your hands at. I said not a word. Says he, if you like what I have said, give me your hand upon it. I held my hand up through my apron, for I could not speak to him, and he took hold of it and pressed it, though less hard than he did my arm the day before. What does the little fool cover her face for? Said he. Pull your apron away, and let me see how you look after your freedom of speech of me last night. No wonder you're ashamed to see me. You know you were very free with my character. I could not stand this barbarous insult, as I took it to be, considering his behaviour to me, and I then spoke and said, Oh, the difference between the minds of thy creatures, good God! How shall some be cast down in their innocence, while others can triumph in their guilt? And so saying, I went upstairs to my chamber, and wrote all this, for though he vexed me at his taunting, yet I was pleased to hear he was likely to be married, and that his wicked intentions were so happily overcome as to me, and this made me a little easier. And I hope I have passed the worst, or else it is very hard, and yet I shan't think myself at ease quite till I am with you, for methinks after all his repentance and amendment are mighty suddenly resolved upon. But the divine grace is not confined to space, and remorse may, and I hope has, smitten him to the heart at once for his injuries to poor me. Yet I won't be too secure neither. Having opportunity, I send now what I know will grieve you to the heart, but I hope I shall bring my next scribble myself, and so conclude, though half broken-hearted, your ever dutiful daughter. End of section 4. Recording by John Nixon, the Supercargo of www.thesupercargo.com.